I didn't understand it.
I didn't have any friends, and she wanted to provide a nice party for me. There were no strippers. It was not anything risque. And he was upset because there were men there.
Did you come home a little tanked that night?
Yeah, I was very tanked.
Also today.
Because Travis can't be found, so I get the end of the deal. The tires on his car were bald, so he needed new tires, and they didn't have his size tires or something, so he had to get new rims as well.
Cleaning up your language, you're in a courtroom.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judy Sheindlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Party's on. Goldsmith versus Lubers. Step forward, please.
The prospective groom, Mark Goldsmith, got drunk at his bachelor party. Then he got mad because his fiancée, Kimberly Lubers, had males at her bachelorette party. The wedding is off.
Order. All rise. Judge number 51 on the calendar in the matter of Goldsmith versus Lubers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Aw. You look like you belong together. You make such a handsome-looking couple. So, Mr. Goldsmith, you were engaged to Miss Lubers and planning a big wedding. You had a bachelor party, she had a bachelorette party, according to your complaint. And the night of the bachelorette party, you had a major fight.
Argument, correct.
And called the whole thing off. So far, right?
Yes.
You say that Miss Lubers then took a credit card that you had sort of held in reserve. You got one in your name, you got a second one for her that you put away. She moved out, took the credit card.
Correct.
Went and spent over $1,000 on the credit card.
Correct.
She says she spent the money, right?
Yes.
But she has a countersuit because she says that she spent a whole lot of money, including money for the wedding.
Correct.
That she's at, that you said you weren't going to pay for.
She never asked me to pay for it, Your Honor.
Okay. So,
No, that's not true, actually.
let's start from the beginning. What got you so angry, sir, that you came home, according to you, and said, it's off?
Well, when she told me that there were couples at her party, I didn't understand it. And I had already been feeling kind of, you know, insecure and unhappy with the, you know, that's why I said to her that, you know, I'm tired of being on the back burner with you and your friends. And so that's why I was angry about couples being there, and said what I said to her.
So you came home from your bachelor party and you found out that there were some couples at her party.
Right, it was all couples, correct.
Because I had just moved here, I didn't have any friends, so my matron of honor, she had her husband there, our mutual roommate who was a male, his girlfriend, and another couple. And she wanted to provide a nice party for me. There were no strippers, it was not anything risque. And he was upset because there were men there.
Because it was couples there. I didn't, it wasn't because
Where'd you go on your bachelor party?
I went out with my brother and about 8 or 9 friends drinking.
Did you come home a little tanked that night?
Yeah, I was very tanked, to tell you the truth. Very tanked.
Did you say some things that night that you wish you hadn't said?
Yes, I did. And I told Kim, Your Honor, the next morning when I woke up, I didn't even remember half the things that I had said, and that's when she had told me, and I'm like, you know, I love you, I'm very sorry.
This isn't the first time, though, he had made instances. As we were preparing for the wedding, he had taken the invitations and thrown them in the garbage, saying, I don't want to marry with you. I'm going to Boston to be with my friend Gary. I don't want to be with you.
Because,
He'd
Your
also
Honor,
taken the engagement ring and put it in his pocket because he had been drinking, and he said, I did not deserve to wear it because of another occasion where I had been out with my girlfriend preparing for the wedding.
Well, maybe you're both pretty lucky. It sounds as if, even though you probably care for each other, if you can't resolve these problems, you're probably better off not getting married.
Right.
Until you can. So let's get down to the money aspect of it.
Right.
You have certain expenses.
Yes.
Because I'm going to take care of his credit card that you used that you shouldn't have. Right, Kim? You shouldn't have used his credit card. You knew that
He had given me the card to use. My cards were
Your Honor,
already
that is
maxed
totally
out
untrue.
because
totally
of the wedding expenses and the situation that happened. I went out and I bought some things.
Well, but at this point, you knew that you weren't together anymore. You'd called off
We
the
were
wedding.
still together at
You
that
had called
point.
off the wedding.
Right, but we were still in a relationship.
But you had called off the wedding.
Yes.
So, was it right of you to use his credit cards once you'd called off the wedding? Now, let's get to the wedding expenses. What arrangements had you made with each other for the cost of this wedding?
When we first talked about being engaged and getting married, Kim knew that I had one credit card to my name, which we used up what we could on there for the wedding ring. So
No,
I told
you
her
used
that
half, and the other half you
Right.
said you didn't want to max out your credit card because
I
you went
maxed
and
it
bought.
out with that half.
Yeah, you.
It was
no,
already maxed.
You bought
Where's just a second, where's the ring?
He
there
threw
is
it
no
away.
ring. When we were arguing, like she said, I put it in my pocket. I had a hole in the pants pocket that I had put it in. And after we had made up that day, we left to go to the grocery store, and that's when it fell out, and
But
we
he
never
had been
found
drinking and arguing with me.
Just a second, but you had the ring.
it. Yes.
He had the ring.
You took the ring back.
Yes.
So if you lost it, you lost it. You got to pay for it. That's your problem, as long as she gave it back to you. You lost it.
Judge Judy will be right back.
She decided that she didn't want to marry somebody who came home drunk and said a lot of nasty things. Do I think she had cause?
The prospective groom, Mark Goldsmith, got drunk at his bachelor party. Then he got mad because his fiancée, Kimberly Lubers, had males at her bachelorette party. The wedding is off.
The hacienda, is that where you were supposed to be married?
Yes.
Correct.
Did you put down a deposit? Is that what this
I paid
$2,800
for everything. Yes, I paid for the whole amount
Had you agreed that you were going to split the expenses for the wedding?
evenly.
I was already paying on one of the cards when we split
For the
up.
ring?
No. I was paying on the ring, the half that was on my card, and one of her cards that had wedding charges on it.
They weren't wedding
And
expenses
when
that he
we
was
split
paying
up,
for.
Your Honor,
Kim, listen up. The hacienda, get out the bill, $2,816. Costume connection. What's the costume connection? For your wedding.
That was for our engagement pictures.
An engagement photo. He wanted to do it in costume instead of just a regular photo.
You have the bill for that?
Yes.
Get it
I
out.
believe you did too, Kim.
I'm
Well, that's
asking
okay.
for half.
I'm not going to charge you for all of these, sir. You're responsible for half of the cost of these things. If the wedding broke up and you had originally planned on paying for the wedding together, you broke up, so you got to pay for half of the expenses for the wedding, not of every other thing that she's got listed here, because that's ridiculous. Because when you separate,
Even though she canceled the wedding?
no, sir, listen to me.
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
It doesn't make a difference who canceled the wedding. You came home drunk the night of your bachelor party.
Correct.
You said a lot of things that you regret saying.
Correct.
But, I mean, you say correct. Based upon that, she decided that she didn't want to marry somebody who came home drunk and said a lot of nasty things.
Right.
That's reasonable, so she canceled the wedding. Do I think she had cause? Maybe. Whatever it is, it's canceled. So you got to pay half. She's not going to get stuck with all the wedding expenses. It's ridiculous. Come on. All right, you see? It would have been cheaper for you, sir, if you just let the credit card go. Because this, I have a feeling, is going to cost you more money. Hacienda brides.
That's the wedding dress.
You have the wedding dress?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And it was altered?
Yes, it was.
Because you have an alteration charge here.
Yes.
The wedding day, what is that for?
That's gifts for our attendants.
Did you buy them?
Yes, I bought
And you
them.
have all the bills?
Yes, I do.
Okay. PJ and DJ, what is that?
That's the DJ that we were going to hire for the wedding.
And you gave him a $100 deposit?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Bonita Fine Jewelry, $487. What's that for?
That was his ring,
Which I gave back to her.
which I do have.
Good, so return it. Strike that. Avante Gardens, $100. What is
The
that?
florist,
Richard Carr Photography, $200.
photographer.
Alterations by Alice, I assume that that's for the wedding dress, $90.
Yes. And then there's on my visa, which is my half of the wedding ring, which I do not have possession of.
Okay, so you put half of the
Right.
engagement ring on your credit card.
And he said that he would pay me back.
Untrue.
You mean you wanted her to pay for half of her
No,
wedding
when we
engagement
discussed
ring?
these negotiations, Your Honor, we didn't say, look, you'll pay me back for this and you'll pay me back for that. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is all I can do, Kim, with
Well,
what I
but-
have.
But you took the ring back. So that why should she pay for any part of the engagement ring if you took it back? Do you understand,
Correct.
Mark? The fact that you lost it is irrelevant.
Right.
You did take it back. And how much was the ring that you put on the credit card?
$838.93.
Can I forget the cents on these things?
Sure.
Because I'm not really good in math. Bert will tell you that. Now, Mark, do you have any wedding expenses that you paid for?
Other than the ring? Half of the ring?
Which ring?
The one that I lost.
The one that you have.
Correct. Well, I don't have. The one that I lost.
The one that you got back that you lost.
Right.
Other than that, you paid for
No.
nothing. Okay. Oh, this is a matter of math. All right, so half of the wedding expenses are $2,554. That's half of the wedding expenses, and that includes your $838 for the ring. I am deducting from that the $1,027. Mark, you owe Kim $1,527. So that's all. Thank you.
He would have been smarter just to walk away with what he had. He had always felt left out whenever I wanted to do something with my matrimony.
Exactly. When John's coming home. When John's coming home, Cheryl looking at me funny and.
John looks at you funny because of you, Mark, not because of anything that anybody's doing. Oh yeah, I'm just an instigator. Yeah.
And now, the next case.
Party's on Citron.
Mitchell Carson is suing the mother of his child, Michelle Harris, and her husband, Todd Harris, for the return of attorney fees for a failed adoption.
Mr. Carson, you and Mrs. Harris have a child together. How
Correct,
old is
ma'am.
that child?
He's 8 years old, ma'am.
Did you ever live with him?
No.
This is your claim. The mother of your child, Miss Harris, is married to Mr. Harris. They've been married for how long?
3 years, Your Honor.
Do you have any children other than this child?
Yes, 2.
Your former girlfriend, you weren't married,
No.
is that right? And you spoke about the possibility of her husband adopting your son. And you thought about it for a while. Ultimately, you agreed that that might be a good idea. And you went ahead and hired a lawyer.
She hired the lawyer. She has to petition the lawyer.
You paid for the lawyer?
I did because they said that they couldn't afford it.
She subsequently changed her mind
Correct.
about the adoption, and you want that money back.
Correct.
Why did you change your mind about the adoption?
We never did change our mind, Your Honor. We simply moved out of the area. I had been searching for work for a good 4 years and couldn't find anything but maybe temp work or part-time. We couldn't afford to take care of our children, so we started looking elsewhere for work, and Oregon had a great rate of employment, higher wages, lower cost of living, so we decided to move there and then pursue the adoption when we got settled.
Mr. Carson, when was the last time you saw your son?
I believe it was about 3 years ago.
Why?
We just had such a lack of communication together, and she lived about 100 miles away, and it just made it real difficult for us to communicate together. And that was probably a lot of my fault because I should have remained involved.
Okay.
But that's why the end result was the adoption.
Mr. Carson, when was the last time you supported your son?
I pay child support every month.
How much do you pay?
I pay $400 a month.
Is he up to date in his child support?
I think he's a little bit behind, but not much.
I believe him when he says he pays child support. So you're not able to use this lawyer?
Correct. What it ended up happening was I paid for the attorney, and then they sent me some documents, which I signed. It was just simple, one form that I had to sign to my release of interest or whatever you like to call it.
Termination of parental rights.
Correct. And then it was on her. And about 6 months later or so, I contacted her attorney, and her attorney had said at that point she hadn't spoken with her, had no contact with her at all, and actually at that moment said, you know, I don't even think she's going to do this. Which is fine. I don't. If she doesn't want to do the adoption, I mean, I'm completely capable and okay with paying child support, till he's 18 years old. But when she came to me with the idea of doing the adoption and I agreed to it, I thought in good faith, when she said they couldn't afford it, that I paid for it, that they would go through with it. And then I called her and asked her why she wasn't doing it. It was at that point that she said it was because, financially they couldn't do it.
So they needed your child support to help support the household?
Sure. Correct. And also at that point, I had contacted Michelle to find out what was going on, and then she told me she was moving. According to our document, she has to give me 30 days written notice of moving. I had no idea she was going to move until I contacted her to ask her what was happening.
Well, that may be written into your contract. However, since you haven't seen your son in 3 years, it really doesn't make much difference. Mr. Harris, are you working now?
No, not at the present time.
Are you working now?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
For whom?
I work for a company that deals with clinical technology services for
How much
a
do you
hospital.
earn?
$15.25 an hour, and I support all 5 of us. off
No,
of that.
you don't support all 5 of you. He helps support all. When was the last time your husband worked full-time?
I
And
would
where?
say it was for a landscaping company in Olympia, and it was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
We're not sure of the exact date.
Well, she says it's a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
It's ridiculous not to work when you have 2 children. When did you move?
We moved in March of '06.
So you moved from, just a minute, so you moved from one place where he can't get a job for a year to another place, and now he's still not working.
No,
Doesn't that
no,
clue?
that's not exactly correct. I worked for a company in Portland as a steam cleaner. I did that for 2.5 months. I also worked doing mill shutdowns for a temporary job. It's not like I haven't worked.
So I'm glad you're working. I'm glad everything is wonderful with you. The strong probability exists that they're not going to let you off the hook so fast.
Ma'am, can I add something, please?
Yeah.
The reason why they told me why he's having a hard time finding work and why they couldn't do the adoption is because when they moved to Portland, Michelle told me that he had a warrant out for his arrest. She told me that's what kept us from going into court. Her attorney told me that when they moved to
Just a
Portland...
second. Well, that's very easy to
Am I in
figure
jail?
out. Shh. Turn around. What was the warrant for, Miss Harris? I
had
didn't
an
speak
old
to you.
parole
I didn't speak to you. I said, what was the warrant for, Mrs. Harris?
His warrant was for parole violation from 1996.
When did you know about his parole violation?
We didn't know about it until we moved to Oregon. However, we discussed past legal issues with the attorney, and she said that that shouldn't make a difference. Also, just to clarify, we had no agreement with him to pay him back.
Well, but no, just a second. But you had an agreement to pursue the adoption.
Correct.
That's your agreement.
I didn't.
And
You wanted my
no,
son.
just Mr. Carson. Shh, Mr. Carson.
Sorry, ma'am.
I'm just saying, Your Honor, at no time had I talked to Mitch about the adoption.
Then you can sit down. Because you're not working anyway. She's working. She'll pay. Sit down. Sit down. You had an agreement with him that in exchange for giving up his parental rights, your husband would assume the parental responsibility, which includes support. And what happened was it became very secondary in your mind with all the other trouble that you have. You have now 3 children in your house. You're working at $15 an hour. Not great. But you can't do that. If he's giving you the money to pay for the lawyer, which he did, because you agreed to pursue this matter and then change your mind, in my mind, you've breached an agreement with him.
We never made an agreement to...
Just a second. That's why you're here.
We never said we wouldn't do the adoption, Your Honor. Circumstances
Then when you...
stopped it.
Listen to me. When you move back to the jurisdiction where he can use the lawyer that he paid for, you could sue him for the money. Right now, you're going to pay for the lawyer. How much was it?
The total amount that we ended up paying the attorney was $1,062, ma'am.
We weren't living off of his child support. We honestly wanted to do the adoption.
Well,
and
listen
when we
to me,
moved,
Miss Harris. You've been married once?
Twice. This is my 2nd marriage.
You weren't married to him so that you had, I would consider, 3 relationships. 2 marriages, 1 relationship. Is that fair? You have 3 children?
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 34.
The likelihood of this man celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary is 0. So that, as far as I'm concerned, it would be very unwise for him to adopt this child. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,062.
Thank you, Your
That's
Honor.
all.
Sarah Ali says she was punched in the face at Dan Dugan's nightclub. Sarah says the culprit was one of Dan's bouncers.
Miss Ali, it is your claim that you and a boyfriend were at defendant's club and you were, without provocation, assaulted by an employee of his. And the defendant's position is that you were intoxicated and that any injuries that you sustained as a result of your own intoxication. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
On May 9th of this year.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And what do you do?
I go to school and I do customer service.
What school do you go to?
OSU.
What is
Ohio
that?
State.
You a full-time student?
Part-time.
And you work part-time or full-time?
Part-time.
Who's your boyfriend? Is he here?
He's right there.
How old is he?
He's 22.
Does he go to school also?
Yes.
Now, on the 9th of May, who were you at this club with?
I was with him. With
Just the
my
2 of you?
boyfriend. Just 2 of us.
Had you been to this club before?
I've been there once before.
What time did you arrive there?
I arrived there about 11:40.
Where had you been before that evening?
Before that evening, I've been to the movies.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
And from the movies, you went to the club?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
Okay, at the time when we got there, we were just having fun, just around there, and then it got about 2 o'clock. It was time for everybody to go home. And we were about to leave, and then one of the security guards, he was gonna open the back door for us to leave, and all of a sudden I heard another security guard yelling behind us. He came and he said, "I know you two heard me calling you back there. Why are you ignoring me?" And my boyfriend nicely said that, "I'm sorry we didn't hear you, but we are leaving right now." And then he said, "No, you can't go because I know you were ignoring me and you need to tell me why you were ignoring me." And then he grabbed my arm. And when he grabbed my arm, I yanked my arm off him and told him, "Please don't ever touch me again." And as soon as I said that, he must have got mad and he grabbed both of us and just pushed us against the wall real hard.
Shh, don't say anything.
When he pushes against the wall real hard, like it hurt my back. And then all of a sudden it happened so fast that he hit me and I must have dropped because I don't remember exactly what happened. I heard noises, but I couldn't see. I remember my boyfriend grabbing me. When he grabbed me, we were pushed out from the back door. And then we heard all noises and I heard my boyfriend call the police and the ambulance for me. And then when the cops arrived, he asked us what happened. And when my boyfriend tried...
Can I see the police report?
Sure.
Is the security guard still in your employ?
No, ma'am, he's not.
What's his name?
I know him as Big Ant.
Big Ant?
Yes.
How long did he work for you?
It's perhaps a year or so.
Well, Mr. Dugan, you pay your employees on the books?
Sometimes.
Did you pay Big Ant on the books or off the books? Look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
On the books or off the books?
He was paid cash at the end of every night. I do not know if he reported it.
Well, I'm just asking you because if you paid him on the books, then you'd have to have a name other than Big Ant.
Yes, ma'am.
You thought this was going to be easy?
No, ma'am.
It's not going to be easy.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you weren't there that night.
No, I wasn't.
And you don't know what happened. Hopefully...
I was home with my pregnant wife, who was 2 weeks away from giving birth, ma'am.
Listen, they're good for you.
Thank you.
And I hope everything turned out okay. But right now you have this gentleman who I assume wants to tell me what he saw because he was there that night. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be up there in a second. I want you to make sure you got it all straight in your head. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any other reports that you have?
No, ma'am. I have some pictures of the incident that
I would like
happened
to
to
see
my
them.
eye.
You were treated at the hospital for
my eye.
You had a laceration under your eye. According to the police, somebody socked you in the eye.
Right.
Is that the only injury that you sustained?
Yes.
Jones.
On what date did Big Ant terminate your employ?
As of that night. Not heard from him since.
When you say as of that night, is that because he didn't return to work on the 10th? Or because you told him not to return to work on the 10th?
He left before the police arrived, or when the police arrived.
And you know that from this gentleman?
He and other employees.
Why did Big Ant take off?
I have no idea, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Jones, how long have you been in Mr. Dugan's employ?
On and off for about 5 years.
In what capacity?
I work with the bands that work there on a particular night, specifically Sunday nights.
What do you mean you work with the bands?
I'm also a member of the band also.
How many hours were you working that night?
I usually arrive at the club early, about 8 o'clock, and then the band usually starts performing anywhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night.
When you're playing with the band, do you have any alcohol?
No, I don't drink at all.
Tell me what you observed on the 9th of May.
At around 2:15, between 2:15 and 2:30, we asked that security start having people leave the bar because by law, everybody has to be out of the bar by 2:30. Also, what happens is the bar staff will not count any money until all the patrons are out of the bar. Well, they were walking the other direction.
They were walking in what direction?
Toward the side door, which is basically like an emergency exit. Big Ant is telling them, hey, you got to go out. We have to leave now. You have to go this way. Well, he said it 5 or 6 times. By the time he gets up to them, they get together. Some words were exchanged. I don't know exactly what was said, but all I know is I seen a hand come up, which looked like a female hand. He was scratched, and there was a ruckus in between her and her boyfriend and Big Ant. And it wasn't a punch, it was more or less like an open hand smack like that. But he's a big guy, so it may have caused some damage. But it looked like she attacked him first.
Well,
that's a lie.
You didn't, shh, Mr. Jones, you didn't actually see that.
Yes, I did. From where I was standing, what I could see, yeah.
Where you were standing, what you can see. Now, you're equivocating. The one thing you didn't equivocate about was you saw Big Ant hit her. It looked like with an open hand somewhere around her face. That you said you saw?
Yes.
Well, an open hand doesn't cause this kind of damage. Okay, let's go back to what you saw at the beginning. You said that you saw what appeared to be a female hand. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, going up like this, coming down at him.
Well, how many females were standing there, Mr. Jones?
It was only one.
So describe what a female hand looks like, Mr. Jones.
Well, I mean, the female hand is not nearly as big as a man's hand in most cases, is what I think. I could be wrong.
So there were 3 people there.
Right.
Is that right? Big Ant, this young lady, and her boyfriend.
Right.
So when you say to me, I saw what appeared to be a female hand, of necessity, it would have to be the plaintiff, unless her boyfriend has feminine hands. Is that right, Mr. Jones?
Could be, could not be.
Well, I mean, by a process of elimination, if there are 3 people standing there, unless, according to you, Big Ant scratched himself, sir, it would have to be one of the other 2 people.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I'm having too much fun. Now, did you wait around for the police to arrive, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I was still there.
Did you observe the ambulance?
I seen the ambulance pull up, yes.
So you knew that the police were treating this as a serious incident?
Yes.
Is that right?
Well, if they were called, yes.
And if they were treating this as a serious incident, clearly they were treating this young lady as the victim.
Right.
And certainly, based upon what you told me, you observed that this young lady was the aggressor in this incident. Is that right?
Yes, they both were.
No, 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 you didn't say both. I said who was the aggressor. Based upon what you told me, she was the aggressor. Is that right? And you would want to be a good citizen. You are a good citizen, aren't you, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you explain to me how the police report is silent with regard to your statement to the police that she was the aggressor and scratched him?
No policeman ever came and talked to me.
Well, do you think that the police have some sort of crystal ball? If you have information that this employee of the club that you know for a year was the real victim, and there were a lot of people there, you think it's a good idea to go up to the police and say, listen, I saw the whole thing. She scratched him first. Look at his face. Well, the police report doesn't say anything about Big Ant having any scratches on his face.
Well, he wasn't there to make a report.
Even more of a reason for someone who witnessed the whole process to go up to the police and say, listen, the guy took off, but he was really not responsible. She was responsible. She assaulted him. Isn't that right, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Can I make one statement?
Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Dugan?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $3,000. That's all.
Ian Mooney is suing his ex-girlfriend, Erin Enslin, for money owed on a lease for a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Erin says the lease is Ian's responsibility.
Mr. Mooney, this is your former girlfriend. You leased a car together. You got another car. Miss Enslin said that she would take over the lease payments on the car. She did. You broke up. She took the car with her. She drove the car for a considerable period of time. The lease was about to be up. The payoff was too much. She said, you can have the car back. I don't want it. You were forced to pay the payout on the lease, which, according to your complaint, was about $5,000. Miss Enslin says it was your car. It's your problem. That's your defense.
Yes.
When was the car leased?
October 6th of 2001, and it was leased by myself and Erin.
Okay, and how long did you drive the car together?
Until, I believe, February of 04. Erin had found employment, and basically we agreed that I would get another car in my name, and Erin would take over the Eclipse and make the payments.
And you did that?
Yes.
For how long?
The lease was up 2006, October. I called him a few times a couple months before saying that I couldn't afford the car. It was really breaking me. So obviously there was no way I was going to be able to pay it off. And he just refused to take it off of me.
Well, but you had an agreement with him, Miss Enslin.
Yeah, as long as I'm driving the car, I'll pay for it. There were times where I called him and said, I don't want it. I don't want to drive it. It was never discussed of bringing back the lease and me paying it off.
Well, what did you expect
I'm not
to
even
happen?
on the lease.
Miss Enslin.
I'm a co-signer for the loan.
Correct.
I'm not on the title of the car. It's
But
not
you
my
are
car.
co-signer on the loan, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you had this car in total how long, sir?
The full lease, 5 years between the two of us. Erin had said that she had no intention of keeping the car, yet I
believe she had intention of keeping the car as long as it was just like a lease. I'm speaking, Mr. Mooney. I believe that she had the intention of keeping the car and paying for it until it was no longer advantageous for her. You have a car now, Miss Enslin?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Dodge Spirit.
What year?
94.
Where did you get it from?
My parents.
Your parents gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
When did they give it to you as a gift?
October of this year. Last year.
So at about the same time that you said, I can't afford these payments anymore?
At the same time the lease was up for his car.
The same time the lease was up on a car on which you were a co-signatory?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Can I please see the payout?
This didn't become an issue until there was damage to the car, and basically she'd gone over on the mileage.
How was the car damaged? Miss Enslin, you don't know. How was the car damaged?
There's a scrape on the side of the car.
How did it happen?
I hit something with it.
Why didn't you fix it?
Because it happened right before the lease was up. And his girlfriend at the time was actually looking into buying it, and her dad owned a garage, so there was a point where we thought that they were going to fix it and buy it and just take it off of whatever she paid for it.
Who do you live with?
My boyfriend.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an assistant.
Assistant what?
Assistant to a businessman.
What kind of business?
He owns a small production company.
You mean theatrical?
No, music.
And what does your boyfriend do, Miss Enslin?
He's a writer.
And what do your parents do?
My mom works in a factory. She's an accountant. And my dad fixes the roads and works for the township.
How old are you, Miss Enslin?
25.
You have to grow up and stop being a baby. If you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of the responsibility. You're not supposed to stick somebody else with your responsibilities. You were going to assume the responsibility on the car until you decided it was too expensive a proposition for you to take it over after the lease. So what? You relied on your parents to treat your car so you could get to and from work and not have to take care of this responsibility. You have to grow up, madam. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Jessica Eveler says her half-sister, Melanie Zampino, stole furniture during tenancy in her home. Jessica claims she kicked Melanie out because she was using drugs.
Miss Eveler, the defendant is your half-sister, and according to what I read, you only recently, in the last few years, had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you rented a home that you own to your sister with the understanding that she would have an option to buy it after she paid rent for a while.
Yes.
Subsequently, within a relatively short period of time after she moved in, you evicted her. But your lawsuit wants your furniture back. And you say when you left some furniture in the basement that was yours. You allowed her to use some furniture. But when she moved out, she took your things. The defendant says that you gave her a living room set, that the bedroom furniture that you claim you want back was actually repossessed by the company that you had rented it from, so she doesn't have that. And she is counterclaiming because she says that because of your precipitous behavior, which was not warranted by anything she did, she was forced to move, she had moving expenses, she was forced to move very quickly, and she wants to be compensated for that and all of her emotional distress. When did you lease her your house?
It was in July.
And when did you evict her?
I gave her notice September 10th.
Had she paid rent in August?
Yes.
Had she paid rent in September?
No.
Why did you evict her?
There was drug usage going on, and I only agreed to 4 people living in the house.
How did you know there was drug use going on in the house?
August 24th, my uncle came there, and they smoked it right in front of him.
Smoked what?
Pot.
Who did?
Melanie and a guy named by the name of Brandon.
You agreed, you said, for 4 people to live in the house?
Yes.
Who were the 4 people?
Her, Christina New Church, which is right over there, and their...
Is this a friend?
It's my roommate. We've lived together for 9 years.
Okay.
And they have each 1 child.
How many people were living there?
Between 7 and 8.
Who else was living there?
I got 2 people that were not even residing there, a piece of mail of theirs.
Can I see?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Brandon?
My cousin. He did not live there. He stayed there occasionally during the week because Christina works 3rd shift, and he tended the kids. I did pay him.
Where did he live otherwise?
He lived with his father.
Was Joseph?
My husband. Some of my utilities were in his name. My husband and I have been separated for...
Tell me about the furniture.
We did have a verbal agreement about the living room set. If she purchased the home, it would be added in with the cost of the house. However, she didn't buy the house, so the furniture didn't come with the house. And I did try to call her.
Go ahead. Let's deal with the living room furniture first.
Okay. When we discussed the house, she said to me, you can have my washer and dryer, you can have my living room set, you can have the bedroom set if you pay the last $150 to Color Time where she was renting her bedroom set from. I said, I have an antique set, I don't want the bedroom set, but I will take the living room set because mine is used. The living room set was stained with marker. One of her children must have wrote on it. Her husband works on cars. There's massive grease marks on the one where he must have sat regularly, which I have all pictures to show. She gave me the living room set. She never said if you purchase the home or if we don't come back, because when she actually on September 10th asked me to move out, she told me it was because her grandmother threw her out of the house that she was staying in South Carolina. I do not use drugs, and I'm
Can I see a picture of this living room set that she wants back?
Of just the living room set in question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did bring pictures of my old living room set just to show you why I would switch.
You're talking about the sofas and the end tables as well?
And the coffee table. And I did attempt to take pictures of the markings.
Well, when I left, there might have been a little bit of like grease stains, but there was no marker on my living room set. It was only...
When did you purchase it?
February of 2 years ago.
You have a receipt for it?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see it, please? And who lived in the house with you?
My husband and my 2 children.
How old are your children?
1 and 2.
This doesn't tell me when you purchased it. Take that, please, Bud. Return that to her. I don't know what this furniture looked like when you left, but certainly a month later, it looks pretty used and pretty abused to me. And when you have 2 young children, that's what furniture like this looks like. Certainly not worth much. You'd have to pay somebody to take it out. You would. You'd have to pay somebody to take out these 2 sofas. What's next? What about the bedroom's furniture?
I purchased that, and I actually have the original bill. And when I got into my house in late September, I came to clean it up and stuff. The bed was set up, but it was sliced. The bed was set up in the basement like someone had been sleeping there.
So what are you talking about, just the mattress?
The mattress and the headboard was damaged, and I have pictures of that.
Who slept on the mattress?
When we lived there, me and my husband.
When I lived there, no one. I had my own set.
Fine. Did you slice the mattress?
I did not. I also have a letter from Color Time saying that they repossessed her bedroom furniture that she left in the basement.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the mattress.
Oh.
And they took the dressers, by the way, because I had asked them to take the dressers.
We're not talking about a whole bunch of money. I mean, we're certainly not talking about $3,500. Maybe we're talking about $100. I'm just trying to figure out why we're all here.
I'd like to make a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Judge Judy, because I feel that we're here for the same reason that Jessica, the only time she ever interacts with me is when there's trouble to be made. When she needs something, she'll call me. When she needs a babysitter, she'll call me. I actually paid money to find her because I wanted to know my sister. And the only thing that's coming out of this, no matter how you look at it, is a destroyed relationship.
That's unfortunate. When did she tell you to move?
September 10th.
And when did you move?
She gave me until September 28th when she started calling the law and having her stepfather threaten to put me out the quote-unquote old-fashioned way.
Did anything happen September 10th that precipitated this?
No.
I basically had coming back to Pennsylvania. My grandma her name's on the house also, so she had a decision to make, and she made that.
That doesn't give me an answer. That's a lot of double talk. You were coming back to live there, is that right?
Yes.
All right, so you were coming back to live there, so you told her to move?
Yes, well, the drug usage was the reason why.
No. Because if the drug usage was the reason why, you would have told her to move on August 24th or August 25th. You didn't. Or the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You told her to move on September 10th because you had to come back to your house. So stop making up excuses. You get it?
Yes.
And you had a responsibility to give her 30 days notice. You didn't do that.
In that town, you only have to legally give 10 days.
Because you're not allowed to legally rent without a renter's permit, and she didn't have one.
Not nice. So you get nothing. Not even the $100 that maybe your mattress is worth if it was destroyed, and maybe your coffee tables were worth. Because what you did was the wrong thing, because they're living there with, let's say, 4 people, including 2 children. 2 children who by September 10th have started school, have settled in, and because you can't live where you were going to live and had to come home, you told them to move and gave them what I consider no notice. Not even the right thing to do to a stranger, but to do to somebody who's related to you? Outrageous. Now, where did you move?
I live in Dover. I'd like not to say exactly where because I don't...
Fine. Did you pay her September's rent?
I did. I have that here.
Can I see it, please?
Then she didn't pay August. She paid 1 month.
How many months' rent did you pay?
I only paid September because when she moved, I was supposed to move in September 1st. When she moved, she had gone down to South Carolina and came back. There was some, like, flooding. People were messing around with her house. She said, Melanie, please just move in as soon as possible. I had to clean up as well.
Just a second. When did you move in?
Mid-July.
Well, then you should have paid 2 months' rent. You only paid 1. You saved a little bit of money so that you had enough money to put down on another apartment. I'm gonna entertain.
Yes, the only problem that I had was just finding something. We moved, we
And you
lived
found
just fine.
something?
Yes.
That's good.
Can I say something, Matt? The electric and gas was shut off September 22nd. When my grandfather went the 26th, everything was moldy, the freezer, everything. So they were out for a
Listen
while.
to me very carefully. You did the wrong thing. You wanted to move back to your house. You wanted her out. It had nothing to do with drugs or other people living there. It had to do with you coming home because you had no place else to live. So I don't know why you're suing her, because the truth of the matter is, if you hadn't brought this lawsuit, she wouldn't have counterclaimed. She was willing to forget it.
Yes, I
Forget it. It's over. It's over. You did the wrong thing. You're an apology, not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Intuitive counselor Rosemary Guerra is suing her colleague, psychic Elizabeth Wines, for the return of money she paid for business leads.
Ms. Guerra, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some sort of an investment that you made with her towards some future business. Each of you at least makes a living or an avocation of being a psychic.
Right.
And according to you, you gave Miss Wines some money. What did you give her money for?
I gave her $1,500 in reference to some promises she had made in order for us to work events like fashion shows, concerts, special events.
What was she supposed to do for the $1,500?
She was supposed to introduce me to her friend Stacy. That's supposed to put us into events in order for us to work as intuitive readers or psychics. And she had promised me a lot of different events and different parties, 38 events for this year, and that never materialized.
Miss Wines, what was the $1,500 for?
Leads.
Leads?
Leads for events.
And when did she give you the $1,500?
In February.
How long had you known Miss Guerra?
Well over 3 years.
And you told her that this $1,500 was to secure leads for her?
Correct. To take place in June.
How many leads did you give her?
We never got that far.
Just
oh.
Just a minute. This is what we have. We have $1,500 given to you to provide her with leads for events. How many leads did you give her?
She would not talk to me to pick out the events.
Okay, so the answer is you gave her no leads.
Absolutely none.
Then you have to give her her money back. Your contract is she gave you the money to give her leads. You didn't give her any leads. She gets her money back.
She needed to pick the events. Not all the events are appropriate for psychic.
Show me any correspondence that you have between February and June asking her to pick out the events for the $1,500.
When I contacted her in April, or we mean when the producer contacted her in May, asking her to work the events, and she refused. Is that what you say?
That's hearsay. You have to give her back her money, Miss Wines. You have to stop whining and give her back her money. Do you understand? You didn't provide the service for which the $1,500 was designed. You didn't perform the service. Maybe you'll do it sometime in the future. Maybe you can all sit down and figure that out. But right now, you didn't provide her with what she contracted for. So you have to give her her money back. It's very simple, right? Perfect. Goodbye. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Joanne Smithson claims her husband's cousin, Doris Smithson, attacked her, slamming her face into the dashboard of a car. Doris claims Joe troublemaker.
Ms. Smithson, you and the defendant are related to each other through marriage. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. You want her to be responsible for your medical bills and whatever pain and suffering you experienced as a result of an assault. You say that the plaintiff was disrespectful to your father-in-law?
To my father.
To your father. And that what ensued as a result of her being disrespectful was really no more than a scuffle and the plaintiff was not injured. That's
Correct.
your defense. You both live in the same town?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And what town is this?
Bethesda, Paytonsville,
Maryland?
Tennessee.
And how long have you been a Smithson?
27 years.
And you?
All my life. It's my maiden name.
Are there rich Smithsons and poor Smithsons?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I gather from these papers.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you one of the rich Smithsons or
Yes,
one of the
ma'am.
poor Smithsons?
I'm one of the richer Smithsons.
And you?
The poor Smithsons.
No, I got it. But I gather that the rich Smithsons and the poor Smithsons don't get along too well. So I want you to tell me your first name.
Doris Darnell Smithson.
And your first name?
Joanne.
I'm going to ask if you would allow me to be a little less formal because, first of all, Smithson is a tongue twister. And second of all, I want to be able to differentiate between the two of you. So would you mind if I were a little less formal? Is that all right? All right, Doris, tell me what precipitated this problem? I want you to explain to me.
Well, at the time, I really didn't know there was a problem. You know, there's always been harassment in the family ever since she's been in it, actually. But we've always got along with her because of my father's 92-year-old brother.
Okay. Now, your father's brother
Lives
is
with
her
her.
father-in-law.
Yes, ma'am. And it actually was me and her husband that actually had the argument.
Okay. Just tell me what precipitated the argument.
Okay,
There was a sale of property.
Yes,
An estate sale.
Estate sale.
And it was the estate sale of your father-in-law who was selling off personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that so far right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I go up there in good nature. We talk good. I talked with Joanne. I talked with Sam Jr. about stuff that they still had to sell. And I asked them if they had any more of Mammy's stuff, you know, my grandmother's. And they said no. Then they were talking about a lamp that my father wanted. I have no idea about this oil lamp she's talking about. And I said, well, what kind of oil lamp is it he's wanting? And maybe I can get him one. And then Sam Jr. starts coming out discussing.
Sam Jr. is her husband?
Her husband.
Okay.
See, so this was really mine and Sam Jr.'s argument.
Okay. You and her husband got into an argument.
Me and her
over
husband got in an argument.
Over this missing oil lamp.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So he starts just fussing and just really getting mad, and I'm just calm. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. You know, you've always been the greedy one in the family, and he always has. He's always been different from all of us.
What day was this, Doris?
Our fight was April the 16th, so it was the Saturday before that. It was the 10th.
10th of April. That was a week before this altercation
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
had with Joanne.
Yes, ma'am. You know, so I left, and when I get home, he had called and said that my father went to their sale and left his lounge chairs. Him and my mother left their lounge chairs there.
Did they purchase these chairs?
No, it was their chairs that they
gave
took
them
to sit in at the auction. So the next day, my father goes up there to get these chairs, and she clobbers him, just literally clobbers him.
Okay, would you step up, please, sir? Your last name is?
Smithson.
Mr. Smithson, tell me what happened when you went to get your chairs.
When we didn't get the chair, it was on a Sunday. So I called Joanne and I asked, I said, we left 2 chairs up there. Did somebody get them or they're still there? She said, they're sitting out there in front of the barn. So I said, I'll be up there in the morning, which had been Monday morning, so I'll be up there around 9:30 or 10 to get them. She said, that'd be fine. So about 9:30, I went up there. I stopped right in front of the trailer at the parking place, and when I got out, my brother was sitting on the porch. And she come out, and that's when she started shaking her finger at me, cussing, and my brother got up.
What did she say to you?
She called me SBs, MF, you name it, she called it.
But she had locked his chairs up in her trunk and wasn't going to let him have them. Listen to me. You tell Darnell.
You listen to me. You weren't listening to me. Doris, you weren't there. And your father is doing just fine.
But finally, she come off my porch, and I said, Joanne, where my chair at? She said, well, you gonna listen to me first. I said, no, I didn't come up here to argue with you. I said, I come get my chairs. So finally, she got the chairs out of the car and rammed them up against and said, you these chairs. She said, let me tell you some others. We got the lamp, but the only way you get it be busted over your D head. And she said they're married, but Sam Jr. tell everybody they ain't married. So I don't know.
Well, that's not for me to figure out right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smithson.
Thank you,
may
Your
have a seat. What did you yell at him about?
I did.
Joanne, yes, you did. You did. I know you did. You know I know you did? Because I can tell when people are telling me the truth, and he's told me the truth. What were you yelling at him about?
I didn't yell at him, Your Honor. He came up to the front porch. That's when I went outside. And then I said, I've got something I need to talk to you about. And I said, I don't want to hear any more about this oil lamp.
Did you put the chairs in the trunk of your car?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because I was afraid that with these type of people we're dealing with, they could have said we stole them or anything.
Listen, do you understand what I mean when I say to you that I can tell when people are lying to me, Miss Smithson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can tell by their body English, you can tell by their hesitation, you can tell by their shifting, you can tell. I can tell. That's my job. I've been doing it for 35 years. So I can tell that you just made up a story. You were terribly disrespectful to him. There was no reason for you to put his chairs in the trunk of your car. Absolutely none. Now who are you?
Amber.
You're the one with the oil lamp.
No.
Where is the oil lamp?
Well, the oil lamp that they're talking about, I have no idea what oil lamp they're talking about.
Well, let's say any oil lamp, Amber. Let's start with any oil lamp, and I want you to be very clear on this, my dear.
Okay.
I can tell when your mother's lying, and I can tell when you're lying.
Well.
So let's get to this. Do you live at home?
No, I don't.
You live in your own place?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an oil lamp in your place?
No, I don't.
Any oil lamp?
No, I have no.
Have you ever seen an oil lamp in your mother and father's house?
I've seen several oil lamps.
How many?
10, 12, maybe.
Oh, okay. Do you know of any ones that you've seen in your mother and father's home that belonged to your grandmother?
I wouldn't know if it belonged to her or not.
So what you're telling me is you know nothing about the oil lamp. All right. Now you can have a seat. You're very lucky. Where's his oil lamp?
This oil lamp does not exist.
Fine. Now, I've already made a decision that you behaved badly with Mr. Smithson. That does not excuse an assault if one took place. Doris, you have to understand that too. So now, Joanne, I want you to tell me what happened on the 16th of April when you were getting some gas.
Okay. My husband and I went to a local market, Bethesda Market. I was sitting in my car, seatbelt on. My husband went inside to get us a cold drink because we was on our way to the flea market. Darnell comes behind my car and opens up the door.
The passenger door?
Yes. And I looked up, and it was Darnell. And after that, I don't remember the hit. There's several things I remember, some things I don't remember.
Do you have photographs of your injuries?
I have a diagram, photograph from the emergency room.
The answer is you do not have photographs.
No.
You have medical records.
Right.
Good, I'll see the medical records. Anybody have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I've got two. The day of the assault and also the revenge assault against me over the lamp that I was cleared of.
What?
The same day, she and her father took out a revenge warrant against me over a lamp.
I never heard of a revenge warrant.
Well, it is.
No, there's no such thing as a revenge warrant.
Then what is
They filed a complaint against you.
Okay. The same day the assault happened.
Well, there is absolutely no issue as to whether you were assaulted or not. You were, in fact, assaulted.
Also, I was... Shh. Okay.
Mr. Smithson.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, sir. You filed a complaint with the police.
I did not.
Well, your daughter did. And the most important thing is that when the police officer questioned you, you told the police as follows, because this is in the police officer's own language. Mr. Smithson, that's you, said that when he returned home, that he told his daughter Darnell about Joanne's actions and abusive language and remarks that were directed towards him, that you told your daughter. According to Mr. Smithson, Darnell said that when next she saw Joanne, that she would whoop her. And from his testimony, she did. Did your daughter say that to you?
I didn't even see my daughter that day, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Whether it was that day or the next day, you told the police. You wouldn't have lied to the police, would you, Mr. Smithson?
No, I would not.
Either you told the police that she was going to whoop Joanne, or the police officer is lying. Which one do you think it is?
I'm not going to say the officer's lying, no.
Good. I'm glad you wouldn't say that, Mr. Smithson. Sit down now. Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, Doris, because you see.
Yes, ma'am.
I know when people are lying, like Joanne here.
Yes.
But I can read medical records, and I know she was assaulted.
But not $4,000 worth. I have one.
I want to tell you
here.
something. Not $4,000 worth. How much do you think it's worth when somebody hits you in the face?
Well, I really never hit her.
Yes, you did.
All I did was just, she come out of her car. Nobody seen me hit her.
I didn't ask whether anybody. I saw the medical. Listen to me. I saw the medical records. She was hit in the face.
Okay. I was also scratched right here.
Did she go to your car?
No, I live right across the store. I'm going to the store. They're already there. And she hollers at me first, "Hey, you." And I said, oh, Lord, here's Joanne. You know, she starts coming out of her car. I calmly just set her right back down in her seat.
That's worth $4,000, madam.
Well,
because what you're doing is fibbing to me. Doris, A, medical records don't lie. Diagrams of her injuries don't lie. Listen, pay careful attention. Because you were angry that your father was disrespected by Miss Big Mouth over here.
Well, if
I'm speaking
okay,
without any just cause, because I do have a feeling that she's a troublemaker. I believe that.
Yeah.
Because I think that probably a lot of things that were sold, things that might have had sentimental value to both brothers, should have been, before you sell them to strangers, you say, listen, would you like something of Mom's? Would you like something that's been in the family for a long time? That's what decent people do, Joanne. And if you didn't do that, and if your husband didn't do that, that means you're not decent people. Do you understand? However, that doesn't mean you can put your hands on her. So, the fact that she disrespected your father, and the fact that you did say to him, next time I see her, I'm going to whoop her, the fact that you did it is going to cost you $4,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
25-year-old Aaron London is suing his former co-worker, Corey Bell, for defaming his character. Aaron claims Corey passed around a phony Craigslist ad.
Mr. London, did you and the defendant work in the same company?
Yes, at one point we did.
This is your complaint. You put an ad in Craigslist. I gather you went to school to become a massage therapist?
Yes.
And you put an ad on Craigslist for massages with your picture on it. Does it have your picture?
Yes.
Mr. Bell saw that ad on Craigslist. Is that right, sir?
I did.
And he thought it was really funny that you had posted that ad on Craigslist. So far, am I right?
Yes.
So he circulated it around the office. He sent it to a lot of other people. He thought it was funny, like, you know, like people send jokes on the computer, and he sent it to a whole lot of other people. So you're suing him for defamation because you were very embarrassed.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. Mr. London, can I see the ad, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So this says, hello, ladies. Imagine casting your eyes upon this gorgeous whatever. It's got pictures of you, right? And it says, massage for big, beautiful women. Reply to personals, it looks like a number at Craigslist.org. And when people reply to this personal, they get you. Is that right?
Well, they get transferred to an email, yeah.
But it's you.
No, not in this particular case. There's a little bit more to the story that hasn't been revealed yet.
Sir, all I want to know
Yes.
is it comes back to you.
Yes.
Now, is this the same ad that you sent to other people?
Yes.
You didn't modify it in any way?
No, didn't modify
You didn't
it.
change it, you didn't add words,
No,
you didn't...
no, I didn't. I just sent the link.
You sent the link and you said, take a look at this.
That's it.
That's not a crime, Mr. London. That's not a crime. That's not a lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it.
Well,
though.
give me 30 seconds, sir. That's what happened. You put this
Well-
ad that you didn't want to be circulated among your
No.
office mates. He circulated it among your office mates. If you didn't want it out there, you shouldn't have printed it.
Well, no, that actually isn't what happened. What happened is I work for the bank, and I also have a personal training and massage therapy business, like you said. And another kind of job side hustle that I do is I write personal ads for Craigslist. Also ads for businesses, whoever needs advertising.
Very nice.
who
I'm
lacks-
not an advertisement for you, sir. So you have a lot of businesses. You
And-
put this on Craigslist.
Yes, technically speaking.
That's what
But
we're here for.
that ad wasn't for me.
Who cares
I
who it
wrote
was
the ad
for?
for somebody else.
Who cares who it was for? Who cares? He doesn't know that. All he knows is this is the ad that he saw on Craigslist. He had every right to send it to whoever he wanted to send it to.
To my workplace. Well, he doesn't work in the workplace anymore.
I don't care. He could have sent it to the King of Siam. He could have sent it to me. He could have sent it to the President of the United States. He could have sent it to the Vice President of the United States or the Secretary of the Interior. It doesn't make any difference. It's out there in cyberspace, put on the internet by you, Mr. London. He could send it to whoever he wants. It's open. That's what it is. It's like sending an open letter.
To send it to my job for what? For
Who
laughs?
cares? If you don't want to be embarrassed, you don't put embarrassing things on the internet, Mr. London. If you don't want to be embarrassed, keep your private thoughts to yourself.
But the ad is not mine, is what I'm trying to tell you. Can I actually tell you?
Listen, Mr. London, I understand the nonsense what you wrote in your complaint. You said you were doing an ad for somebody else, and this was just a sample of what the ad would look like. But Mr. Bell doesn't know that because you posted this on Craigslist.
But how does he know I posted it?
It doesn't make any difference whether he knows you posted it or not, sir. It's here. It's out there in the world. Just like he sees it, anybody else can see it. He can send it to whomever he wants to send it. The truth of the matter is, you did post it on Craigslist. Did somebody tie you down and take these pictures?
No, those are sample pictures.
Those are pictures that
The
you...
pictures don't even match the ad, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh,
it's
yes,
not
they
even...
do. Oh, yeah, listen, Mr. London, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, sir. This may have aggravated you. It may have upset you. It's a very good lesson. If you want to think privately, you go, I want to take it all in, and this is what I want to do. I want to keep these thoughts to myself. If you want to give massages to big, beautiful women, and that's what you're thinking about, and I'm going to see, but I'm not going to write it in a letter to my mother or my sister or my boyfriend or my girlfriend. I'm going to keep it to myself. Once you type it in the machine and you write send, it's over. It's out there. It's in Mexico and Burma and
Jersey
and Brooklyn. It's all over the place. And you can't complain about it if somebody says, this is really funny. I want to send it to everybody that I know who knows this jerk who posted this on Craigslist. So, Mr. London, grow up. You want to keep things to yourself? You want to talk into your pillow. Don't talk into your computer. Case is dismissed.
22-year-old Christina Munoz is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Erica Miloserdorf, for accidentally killing her Maltese puppy when she fell on her.
Miss Miloserdorf, you had a terrible accident with the plaintiff's puppy. You want to tell me what?
The plaintiff in
Your
Vegas.
friends?
My friends for the weekend. And we were outside. She went to go get her mail. We took her little Maltese dog, Isis. And when we came back, she asked me to watch her dog, left me responsible to watch the dog when she went upstairs to put the mail away. I was playing with the dog outside. The dog went under my leg. The leash wrapped around my ankle, and I tripped and I fell on top of the dog. Unfortunately, it collapsed the dog's ribs and punctured the dog's lungs, and it died on the way to the hospital.
And you want her to pay for the dog?
Yes.
And?
I don't think it's fair. It's an accident that happened. It's a responsibility that shouldn't have been left on me. I was watching it as a favor for her while she went upstairs.
You could have declined.
I could have, but I didn't because I didn't even think anything was going to happen.
Of course not. Let me ask you this question. What's your first name?
Erica.
Erica. How did you get to your friend's house?
I drove.
Let's say instead of the dog wrapping itself around your legs, you accidentally ran over her dog with your car.
It'd still be an unfortunate accident, but maybe then I'd feel responsible. But this is an accident. I accidentally fell and tripped over.
You mean
the
it was a
dog.
double accident?
Yeah.
Well, you're responsible. You're walking this puppy on the leash. You're holding the puppy on the leash. It's your responsibility to see to it that the puppy doesn't entwine itself around your legs. You didn't mean for it to happen. You were trying to pay attention, I assume, but you didn't do a good enough job.
But it wasn't my responsibility.
It
though.
was your responsibility. You assumed the responsibility. Now, sometimes things happen that you have no control over. But in this case, you had control over it. It was due to your negligence that the puppy got entwined in your leg. The puppy can't think about that. You're supposed to think about it. I really am trying to explain it to you so that you'll understand it, because I don't think that you are a bad person. I just think that you are misguided. So I'm trying to give you guidance. How much was the puppy?
It was $14.99.
Did you replace her?
Well, we got a gift from my parents saying that we got a new Maltipoo, so it wasn't the full Maltese, it was the Maltese and a poodle.
They're cute.
They are cute. They are very cute, but I mean, the Maltese was a purebred compared to now it's a half-breed, so.
Well, Maltese and poodles are wonderful little dogs because they have a great coat that you don't have to deal with as much, right?
Yes.
And they don't yap as much.
No, she does not bark at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I had Maltese.
Oh.
I know. They bark all the time. All the time. Anyway, you owe the price of the dog, $1,499 judgment for the plaintiff. Are you still friends?
Probably not after this.
Well, you should be. It was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident.
It was an accident. It's an accident that she was responsible for, but it was still an accident. That's all. Thank you.
What is your excuse? You may step up.
18-year-old Christine Lucy is suing the father of her daughter, 19-year-old Fred Todd, for damage to her car. Christine says a drunken Fred kicked her door.
Miss Lucy, this young man used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you have a child together with him. Mm-hmm. And you claim that he has a bad temper. And because of his bad temper, he kicked or slammed your car door on 2 separate occasions, causing some damage.
Yes.
Mr. Todd says that your car is old, that you both lost your temper and slammed the car door. Yours on your side, his on his side, and he's not responsible for any damage. How old is this baby that you have together?
She's a year old.
Did you ever live with Mr. Todd?
Yeah. When I found out that I was pregnant, we moved in together, and from then it's been kind of a rocky relationship. I've moved out and moved back in a few times.
When you move out, you move back home with your parents?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Where are you living now?
With my parents.
Stay there.
I am.
I mean, it's not for you. You're 18, you're still a baby yourself, but you made a baby, you have a responsibility to give that baby a certain amount of stability, and you don't need any more boyfriends for a while, and you just have to concentrate on your child.
And that's why I decided in June of this year that I wanted her to have a stable home where her family wasn't fighting all the time.
Right, because an 18-year-old, how old are you?
19.
Another genius. An 18-year-old and a 19-year-old or a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, when they make a baby, it's a very dumb thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So when was the first damage he allegedly did to the car?
In July of this year, he was too drunk to drive, and his mom needed a ride to work. And I went to go pick him up and take him over to get his mom and take her to work. And on the way there...
You mean, just a minute, his mother called and said he's too drunk to drive?
No, he called me and said that his mom needed a ride to work and he was too drunk.
What time of the day was this?
It was about 10 o'clock at night.
Does that ring a familiar chord, sir?
No, Your Honor. For one thing, I wasn't drunk. I hadn't been drinking.
Your Honor, that's...
Shh.
I didn't have a car at the time.
Mr. Todd,
actually.
Did you say to her, I've been drinking? Let's say you didn't use the word drunk. I've been drinking, my mom needs a ride to work.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
listen to me. I have in my brain a truth machine. I'm not here to hurt you, Mr. Todd. I'm only going to hurt you if you don't tell me the truth. What kind of work were you doing in July?
I'm a dock worker, as a matter of fact.
Were you making good money?
Well, at one job I was making $15.50 an hour, and at the other job I was making $13 an hour.
How many hours a week?
About in between 30 and 40 hours, and the other ones, it was sometimes from 20 all the way up to 40 hours.
So you're working at least 50 hours a week?
Yeah.
How much were you giving her?
I'd say in between 50 and 60.
So, of the $1,250 that you were making, you were giving her between $50 and $60 a week for the baby.
Yeah.
What were you doing with the rest of your money?
I had to buy a car. I owe money for things. I have a lot of bills. I live on my own. Just, I mean, all
Were you
kinds
living
of
on your
numerous
own in
things.
July?
Oh, yeah. I've been living on my own since I was 17. So.
Now, so tell me about this. Now we're going to get back to the car.
The first incident when I went to go take his mother to work, on the way there, we got into a fight over his drinking and him not giving me any money for our daughter. And he got upset, and when we got there, he opened the door and he kicked it to keep it open. And when he did that, I guess it shifted my car door because the door was flush with the front panel.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Grand Am.
All right, when was the next incident involving the car?
The next incident was early the next week. He wanted to talk about some things, so I told him that he could come with me on my errands and talk to me on the way because I was very busy that day. And so we didn't talk a whole lot while I was doing my errands. It was on the way back. He tried to convince me to get back with him and try to start a relationship again. I told him that I didn't want to. I wanted to stay at my parents' house, try to build my own life, and he got very upset about that and lost his temper and started yelling at me. And then when we got to his mom's house so I could pick up our daughter, he did the exact same thing again. He opened the car door and kicked it. But
You mean kicked it open?
Yeah.
Kicked it open, didn't kick it closed, kicked it
No,
open.
he kicked it open. It was actually the hinges in the door frame were so far bent that you couldn't open or close my door.
Can I see the estimate?
Sure.
Good.
The pictures are here
Good.
as well.
Okay, Mr. Todd, now I'm going to hear you.
Well, we went out to get it inspected, and she, like, as soon as we broke up, she immediately started dating again, immediately trying to replace me, immediately trying to get a, I don't know if she was trying to get another father for my daughter or what she was trying to do. So it made me angry because I'm my daughter's father, and she's not going to replace me. I'm not going to let her. And
Well, what do you mean replace you? I don't understand you mean replace you.
Guys, into my daughter's life, in and out of my daughter's life, because that's not, I don't feel that's a good situation for her, to grow up in, with guys in and out, over life all the time.
What makes you think, sir, that the plaintiff is going to bring a whole bunch of guys in and out of your daughter's life?
Because within the first 4 months of us being broken up, she's already had 3 or 4 in and out of her life already.
Just to say, 3 or 4 what in and out of it? She
3 or
lived with
4 guys.
How, you mean that she's dated?
Yeah, but she's taken my daughter around and brought them around my daughter.
So? I mean, if you're telling me that she's lived in the 4 months that you've been separated, she moved in with one guy, and then she moved out, and then she moved in with another guy, and she moved out, and she moved in with another guy, and she moved out, I would say to her, you're doing the wrong thing, and I would say to you, if you don't like her conduct, and if you think her conduct is damaging to the child, and that would be damaging, go to court and seek custody of the child.
And we're in the process of that.
Just a second. But if what you're telling me is she's dated 4 people since the 2 of you split up, that's none of your business.
No, you're right. You're right. It is none of my business. But what's my business is that she's taken my daughter around those people, and I don't want my daughter
What do you mean around those people? I don't know what you mean. You mean when she goes out with them, she'll spend a Sunday afternoon with them in the park?
She'll bring them back to her mom and dad's house. She's
What?
had them
So that's not your business.
But they're around my daughter.
That's not your business.
May I ask why?
It's not your business unless there's something wrong with these people.
Well,
You're not her morals monitor.
Just
like she's not your morals monitor. Get to kicking the car.
So, that was what the argument was about. So we was arguing about that, and we come pulling up.
About which you were wrong.
Okay, about which I was wrong.
Absolutely,
And,
because you're not going to like it 2 years from now when you have a new girlfriend who moves in with you, because I have a feeling you like to have somebody live with you. And she says, I don't want my daughter over there. It's sleeping over. He sleeps with this woman and they sleep in the same bed, and I don't want that. I'm going to tell you the same thing. That's none of your business. When a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old are dumb enough to make a baby, you got to make concessions for the next 20 years. Think about having another one. Got it? I would have 3 jobs if I were you, so that you kept busy. Why did you kick her door?
I didn't kick her door. Actually, we was pulling up to my mother's house. The second time isn't when, I don't think that it could have got damaged. The second time, we both got out of the car when we was arguing and slammed the door.
Just a minute, but her door opens.
But what I'm saying is I think it was the first incident. If I can explain that to you, I think that's what damaged the door to make it do that the second time when I, like
So you mean you just started it the first time, but the second time it was real, you pushed it over?
I didn't kick her door, is what I'm saying.
Just listen to me. You were the passenger.
Yeah.
Door doesn't close.
Okay.
She could slam her door.
Okay, but...
Her door closes and opens.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,022. That's all. Thank you.
20-year-old Kyle Jones is suing his mother, Barbara Crooks, for a loan to pay her bills. Barbara says her son is ungrateful.
Kyle, this is your mom.
Yes, it is.
It is your claim that you loaned your mother $2,000 that she needed when she ran into financial trouble with her mortgage. And you loaned her that money from your college loan fund. You were going to college at the time, and evidently you were taking out some financial aid?
Yes.
There was an agreement with your mother that she would pay you back so much per month. You claim she didn't do that. How old are you, Kyle?
I'm 20 years old.
And when did you lend your mother this money?
On January 19th, 2006.
Did your mother call you and tell you she needed money?
Yeah, on January 18th, 2006. She called me, said that she needed some money for her mortgage.
Why would you call him to ask him for money?
Given my financial situation, I knew that he would be able to help me out, and I knew that he obviously trusts me enough to help me.
Who else was living with you?
My husband, myself, my younger son, and my brother.
How old's your brother?
37.
And how old's your husband?
Same age.
So you call your 19-year-old child to give you money? Why aren't they working?
It wasn't that they weren't working. My brother's mentally handicapped. He's never had a job.
Well, so he must get disability.
Yes, he does.
Okay, so it's not as if you're taking care of him, the government takes care of him. Now, what about your husband? What kind of work does he do?
He works for a grocery store, does night stock.
So you have 3 adults in the house, at least one of whom is contributing through government subsidy to your household. You have a husband who works, and what about you?
I work full time.
Well, then how did you run into financial difficulty? You have 3 people all bringing in money into a household? How did that happen?
No savings, unexpected bills arise.
Like what came up in January of 2006?
It wasn't just January. In December, I got very ill.
Okay, so January?
In January, I had just a burden of bills. I felt as though if Kyle helped me out, I would be able to pay him back. There was never an agreement stating that I would pay him back X amount at any certain time. It was, Kyle, I will pay you back as soon as possible. No sooner did I start to give him some money, I found out I had cancer, ended up losing my job. So
well, what
if
about
I wasn't,
just a minute, what about your husband?
His income alone was not enough to cover our bills. I'm the breadwinner in our house. Always have been.
Well, you don't expect him to eat this $2,000, do you?
I don't expect him to eat this $2,000. All of that $2,000
Show
back.
me.
I don't have receipts. If you have a 19-year-old living in your home...
Okay, so you're telling me you don't have receipts for paying him back, but what you did was you allowed him to live rent-free and you gave him spending money.
Oh, and I actually have some receipts where I paid his doctor's bill. I have receipts where I've paid to repair the damages that he's done to my home with his BB guns, with his homemade potato launcher or whatever it is. You know, it's not as though I just didn't give him money. I gave him money, but never thinking that I should have to get a receipt from a child who lives in my house, who I support.
Absolutely, madam. You wouldn't have to get a receipt. You wouldn't have to keep notations unless you would borrow $2,000 from him that you said you were going to pay back. And you did say you were going to pay him back, because ultimately he has to pay back the government that $2,000. That's not free money.
I know. I went to school myself. I obtained my degree in 2002, working full-time, going to school full-time, and raising an ungrateful teenager.
If I only had 5 of these ungrateful teenagers who went through college on student loans with no help from their parents...
No help from his parents.
Well, I don't hear any money that you gave him towards tuition, room, and board when he was living in school. Did you pay his tuition? Did you pay his room? Did you pay his board? Did you pay for his books while he was living in school?
No, I didn't.
Well, that's what I just said. He had no help from you. He took out student loans, he took out grants, and you took money from that to pay your mortgage. When you have 3 adults in your house, one of whom doesn't work but gets government subsidy, I'm sure substantial government subsidy, because it's at least $600 a month. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Of course. And I say at least. And your mortgage is how much a month?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month. So his money alone practically covers the mortgage, so that it's just the rest of the bills that you have in the house.
Can I show you some email and some evidence from him?
Evidence that shows what?
The damages that he's done to my home. I wouldn't think of suing him.
That's what teenagers do.
Oh, they put
Under
BB
ordinary
holes in every wall of your house.
Let me tell you something, madam. You owe him $2,000. Be a good mother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Please excuse, you may step out.
19-year-old Megan Fay is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter Kevin Malaber, for loans to pay rent and to buy a new cell phone. Kevin claims Megan is upset that he's moved on.
Miss Fay, it is your claim that you made 2 small loans to the defendant while you were dating.
Yes.
Mr. Malaber says that he doesn't recall you making any loans to him, that he doesn't need your money. He has no knowledge of any loans or financial gifts that you made to him. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You both go to school?
Yes.
When did you make the first loan?
It was August 7th.
2006?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
He said that his dad couldn't pay for his rent because his dad was getting a new job. So he wanted me to lend him the money until his dad could pay me with the new job, and that was $420.
What was the money for?
The rent money.
Where did you get the money from?
My savings account.
You have proof of that for me?
Yeah, I have the statements right here.
Can I see it, please?
I had to take 2 up. Okay.
You had to take 2 out because?
I was doing the ATM, so I didn't think I would be able to take $420 out at once, so I split it up.
Okay. Were you working?
Yes.
What kind of work were you doing?
I work at JCPenney's.
Full-time?
Part-time. I work between 15 and 30 hours while going to school.
I work full-time in a restaurant as a server.
What was the next loan that you made to him?
I've been bugging him about a cell phone, so he told me that he wanted to get one, so his dad said he couldn't do it, so I went with him to open it, and...
What do you mean you were bugging him about a cell phone?
He didn't have a cell phone, so I'd have to call his friends, and he said that he would get one, and his dad would pay for it, but his dad couldn't do it at that time, so I went with him and opened one for him.
Well, he was working. Why didn't he buy it?
He just started, and I made him get that job. He didn't want to work. And
how much was the cell phone?
It was $200.
Okay, and you don't remember any of this, sir?
No, my father would pay cash for my rent. My parents are divorced, and they both would pay half of the rent.
So you have no information whatsoever about this $420 amount of money?
No. And what was the date she said she took that money out?
August 7th.
Our rent was due the 20th of every month.
Yes.
So I don't know why there would be the 7th of the month that she would be taking out money for my rent.
I don't know. That's
He
what she
was
says.
going to visit his friend where he was living, and he needed it that day because he wouldn't get to it before the due date. That's what he told me. I was all just going on what he was telling me, and I didn't want him to lose his apartment, so I gave him the money.
Okay. Now, Miss Fay, you claim that after he refused to pay you back because you had some disagreement about his going out with somebody else, you contacted his father.
Yes.
And how did you contact him?
I had a cell phone because Kevin would use my phone to call his father and his mother. So I called his dad hoping he would be able to help me out.
And did you speak with him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he couldn't help me, that he talked to Kevin, and Kevin wanted to do this on his own because he was 20, and that if nothing happens, he told me that I should do small claims court.
That's what his father told you?
Yes.
What's
He
your
didn't
father's
want to help me
telephone
out.
number, sir?
5763.
Is that his work number?
No, that's his cell phone.
Good. Did you ever meet him, by the way?
Yes. I would go to his house with Kevin. I would have to drive him because
Good.
he didn't have a car.
I'm going to give your dad a call.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine.
Great. Mr. This is Judge Judy Sheindlin. How are you? Mr. I have a couple of questions for you. Do you have a moment for me, sir? Great. Great. Do you remember sometime several months ago receiving a phone call from Miss Fay, your son's former girlfriend, Megan Fay? She discussed with you some money that she said your son had borrowed from her? Did she tell you how much he had borrowed? Did you agree to pay her that money? And did you speak to Kevin about it? And what happened? Okay. Did you tell Miss Fay that if he owed her money, that she should sue him? I absolutely agree with you, sir. You've met this young lady before, is that right? Ever had any difficulty with her before? Seemed like a nice young lady? Very good. Thanks very much. I appreciate your assistance. Bye-bye now.
He's sad.
There are always ways to figure out who's telling the truth, Mr. Malabar. If I can't get it from one source, I get it from another. Don't you feel foolish? 10 million people are going to know you're a liar.
I'm not lying here.
Yes, you are.
What did he say?
That's for me to know and for you to think about. But there's no question in my mind you're a liar. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $620. That's all. Thank you.
23-year-old Cammie Farmer is suing Jose Martinez for a late-night fender bender outside a nightclub. Jose says it was Cammie who backed into him.
Ms. Farmer, you claim that Mr. Martinez damaged your car in a parking lot, and Mr. Martinez says that the accident was both of your faults, so you should each pay for your own damage. You were all exiting a club that evening.
Right.
So what I'd like you to do is to go over to that chart that you've prepared and show me where the exit was.
This is the exit right here.
Okay, so there's a steady stream of traffic that's going sort of in the center.
Right.
And what happens is I assume that a car in the center lane lets one car in from one side and then another car goes, sort of alternating egress from the parking lot.
And there was police officers in the parking lot directing traffic.
Now, what kind of car were you driving?
A 2000 Chevy Malibu.
And Mr. Martinez?
A van.
So tell me what happened.
As I was trying to exit...
That was you. You're in the red.
This is me. I'm the red and he's the blue. So as they're exiting and I'm waiting in line for them to exit, I guess he got impatient and was in a hurry or whatever and tried to go around me. And his back van door was open. So as he's trying to go around me, his door caught my left bumper and my left tail light and shifted my trunk.
You have pictures of that?
No, I don't. I put it in the shop the next day, so I didn't take pictures.
Well, after his van door hit your car, what happened?
The police officer directing traffic directed us to pull this way and exchange information.
And you did that?
Yes.
You have a police report?
No, because it was on private property and there was no injuries, the police officer didn't take a police report, but he gave me a statement.
I'd like to see it. This is Police Officer M. There were 20 vehicles in the parking lot attempting to leave. Okay. So what I want you to do, sir, is to give me your version of what happened. Because I will tell you now, Mr. Martinez, the police officer observed what happened.
Okay.
So before you even think about trying to fabricate a story, I suggest you think hard about what happened.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened. Well, that night, me and my friends threw a party at a club in Union City.
I don't care.
And,
listen to me. I don't care. Get to the parking lot.
Okay, the parking lot. Okay,
And
like
look
I say.
at me when you're talking.
Okay, we was partying. You know, everybody had a little liquor in them.
Not me.
No, just a second.
Okay, well.
You had a little liquor
I had a
in
little
you.
liquor in me. So I'm like, we was exiting the parking lot. And could I show you on the graph? All right, this is the parking lot. I guess this is how you get out. I'm right here, she right here. I'm going up. When I was coming up, she was coming back. So we both hit each other. The reason I didn't really file no Collin claim, because I figured it was both our fault.
No!
That's why I did that.
Well,
where was I going?
Just a second, just a second. Get back there.
Okay.
First of all, you had no business being behind the wheel of a truck or a van or a vehicle if you had been drinking.
Yeah.
Because it clouds your judgment.
Right.
And let me tell you what the police officer said.
Okay.
The police officer said he observed a black van with its passenger side sliding door open as it was attempting to drive around Miss Farmer's vehicle. In trying to do so, the black van side door collided with the right rear taillight of Miss Farmer's car. Mr. Martinez continued driving along the side of Miss Farmer's vehicle, causing more damage. It appeared that Mr. Martinez did not realize that he collided with Miss Farmer's vehicle. You know why that was?
I realize.
All right. So let me see an estimate, please.
I got 2 estimates. The shop that I went to gave me a discount.
Okay, but you had it fixed.
Right.
Well, how much did you pay to have it fixed?
$827.60. Here's the receipt.
Good, great. What I'm surprised at is the police officer didn't cite you for driving while under the influence of alcohol.
I also have rental car receipts because I had to get back and forth to work, and I also had a daughter that needed to get back and forth to school.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
I'll see them.
The receipts are in my mother's name because she rented it, but I gave her the money, cash.
All right, the judgment's for $970. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Tina Corville is suing her estranged daughter-in-law, Jennifer Corville, for an unpaid loan and car insurance payments. Jennifer says Tina's son is a deadbeat.
This is the son?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. It is your claim that while she and your son were living in your home, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Corville says that you made gifts to her because she was the only one working in her family. Your son wasn't working, so she needed some car payments made in order to get her back and forth to work, and some insurance payments made on the car. I have a few questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
For not that long, because I had a job January 1st whenever I had put her out.
Listen to me. Listen to me. How long have you been unemployed?
Since January 1st.
Of 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to January 1st, 2007, your mother says that you weren't working a good part of the time.
Ma'am.
That's what your mother says.
Yes,
Is she
ma'am,
lying?
That's true. No, ma'am, that's true.
How long did you have the January job?
Not long, because I didn't even
Just
go
don't tell me because.
No, ma'am, I hadn't gone offshore. It was an offshore job, and I didn't have a ride to go offshore. That's why I didn't have that job. I hadn't
So
even
you
worked
didn't
one
have
day.
a job?
I had the job. I got hired.
When was the last time that you got a paycheck, Mr.
I
Corville?
didn't get a paycheck from them because I never worked one day.
Mr.
because
Corville, I
didn't have a
want you to
ride.
listen to, put on your listening ear, sir.
Okay.
When was the last time, month and year, that you had a paycheck? Think hard.
2006, and I can't give you the exact month.
Well, give me close to the
Okay.
exact month.
About the 10th month, or maybe even the 9th.
What would that be, the 9th month?
The 9th month
Yeah.
is September. Took me a while.
Good. September. Now, in August, who did you work for?
Pizza Hut,
Doing what?
delivery driver.
How long did that last?
Not long,
Why?
because I was told I couldn't use the car to do it no more. I was putting wear and tear on our car.
Your Honor, that was our car at the time. I was a manager at Pizza Hut.
Listen, you know what kind of sympathy I have for you? Zero. You picked him. And not only did you pick him, but you picked him, and you have a child.
Not with me.
I know that.
Okay. I was just clarifying it.
You know, put your hand down. Sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes the loneliest you can be is when you're with somebody.
Yep.
Your son, who is without a job, moves in with you with his wife and her child.
Yes, ma'am.
How old was he when he left home?
He's been in and out of home since he's 12 years old.
In and out of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how did you feel about it when he told you he was getting married?
Didn't know the girl long enough.
But she has a job, right?
Yeah, at the time she did have a job, yes, ma'am.
Now, your son had no job at the time.
At the time?
At the time?
At the time he did have a job.
Doing what?
He did sheet metal.
What happened to that job?
He had differences with the guy.
Yeah, the guy fired me because I asked for a raise.
And what did he say when you asked him for a raise?
He told me he didn't feel that I deserved it, and if I felt like I really needed it, I could go look for a job elsewhere because I no longer had one with him.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
said, I don't feel as if you deserve it. If you feel as if you deserve more, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he didn't say that you can't have a job with him. He said, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you went, where'd you go?
To Pizza Hut.
Was that paying more than your sheet metal job?
Yes, ma'am.
Nah.
With the tips, yes,
No.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, tell me about this first loan. After they got married, they moved in with you because he's not working, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Were they paying rent in your house?
Not at the beginning, no.
Were they paying rent later?
When the second go around, they were going to pay rent. They moved in twice last year.
Fine. Well, the second time they moved in, did they pay rent?
1 month.
How much?
$150.
And who paid the rent?
My son.
What was he doing?
He was working for
Trim.
Newcom.
Yeah.
What happened to that job?
We had went and we had a court date for me and her both to attend to, and we asked the
What kind of court
instructor-
date?
I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
You had a court date and you don't remember?
Yes,
What kind of
ma'am.
court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to do with me.
But
For
we
a
left.
quiet. For a paternity test for what?
His second child.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
He has two, one for two different women.
Now, how much money in total did you give Miss Corville?
$958.
Tell me what it was for.
In January.
January of what?
Of 2006. She bought a car with her income tax. Didn't have money for the insurance, so I loaned her $200.
Just a second. Tell me about what she didn't have money for the insurance, and she said to you
she would pay me back.
Did you have that discussion with her or with your son?
With her.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that she would help us, give us the money because of the fact he was out of work. And she didn't want to see us without a car because if we didn't have a car, we were unable to work.
Was he
And as she
working?
said-
Was he working at the time?
No, ma'am.
Did you subsequently get a job, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did? Good. Where did you get a job?
That's whenever I went to the electrical company.
And how did you get to the electrical company?
She had brought me a few occasions.
Who did?
Miss Jennifer.
Your wife?
My wife, yes, ma'am.
What's next?
In May, she called me at work crying because she had a payday loan that she had taken before they were married, crying because she was going to get arrested. Could she please borrow some money?
Is that right?
It is.
Good. How much was that?
$305.
80.
That you owe her. Go ahead.
Then in September the 19th, their ABC insurance canceled. So they had to find new insurance.
They had to find new insurance?
She had to find new insurance.
Where were you working? You told me you were working in September, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's whenever we were both working at Newcom.
Oh, okay, so you were both working?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were using her car to get there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Perfect.
So I paid her down payment for $155.
That's
for
fine.
the Geico.
That ensures that your son is working.
She was short $100 because they both lost their jobs. She was short $100, so to keep her car, I put the $100 difference in pay that she would pay me back when she'd find another job.
Why'd you get him to pay you some money?
It wasn't his car.
He was using it. They were a married couple.
No,
listen.
she's
Miss Corville.
I had lost
your son
3
put her
jobs.
out of the house when?
January 1st, 2007. Why?
What was my question?
I couldn't use the car to go find a job, nothing. She had stopped letting me use the car, everything. That was her
Really?
car.
And you had been using the car to go and look for a job?
No, ma'am.
Well, you
hadn't
said she
let me.
stopped.
Yeah,
let you
like
use
she
it.
hadn't let me. And within 3 months since we had been back over there, I had got a job and went to Houma. That was the only time.
So that's why you threw her out?
Yes, ma'am, because I was supposed to be leaving to go offshore and she wouldn't bring me.
Go ahead.
He didn't get a job in Houma. He actually went to Houma to get a job. He failed his drug test, and he was unable to work offshore. So he actually didn't
What
work.
kind of drugs were you taking that you failed the drug test?
None.
You mean that the test was a mistake?
No, ma'am, I was going offshore.
So you didn't fail the drug
No,
test?
ma'am.
Would you like to take one today?
Doesn't matter.
She owes you for the payday loan. That she owes you for. For the car, consider it a contribution to your son. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judge 30580. That's all. Thank you very much.
Basil Aziz is suing comedy club owner Jay Robertson for the cash prize from a Player of the Year contest. Jay says Basil was the only contestant to show up.
Mr. Aziz, according to your complaint, Mr. Robertson is the owner of a club that you have been to in the
Yes.
past, and you saw some sort of an advertisement that indicated that on a particular day he was going to have a contest. You claimed that you went to the contest, that you won the contest, and that Mr. Robertson didn't pay I think it was $1,000. Is that right? That
Yes.
he indicated in the flyer was going to be the prize. Mr. Robertson's defense is that not enough people showed up, so that the contest never took place.
Correct.
Okay. Can I see the flyer that notified the public about this contest? Your club is in Virginia, sir?
Yes.
What kind of club is it?
It's a comedy club.
And you had these prepared?
Yes, I did.
Where did you send them?
They was on all sides of town, all over.
Okay. It says $1,000 to be awarded to the Player of the Year. Now, according to your complaint, Mr. Aziz, there was an entrance fee.
I paid that.
I don't see it where it said there was an entrance fee here. What was the entrance fee?
$50 or $100.
Well, who made the decision whether it was 50 or 100?
I did. Originally, how it was all going to be set up, it's going to be $150.
How come you didn't put that down here, sir?
Because I put on, the reason why I put it on there so more people can call. That's why I put on there for more info call.
Okay. And when people called, what did you tell them?
That's when I was telling them that it was $150. With the $150, that would take care of you, you know, far as for his drinks and everything, plus entering into the contest.
Okay. All right, Mr. Aziz, you got to the club on June 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay when you got there?
$50.
Who did you give the money to?
The lady at the door.
What was the name of that lady?
That was the ticket lady. Her name was Lisa. And how it was set up, Lisa was to inform anyone who wanted to do the contest. At that particular time, we has changed everything from the $150 to whereas that if you want to do the whole contest, it would be $100.
You can't do, Mr. Robertson.
He changed it too much.
Let me explain something to you. You can't do that, sir. What you're telling me is depending upon your mood, how you felt, or whatever. Sometimes you told people that it was $150. Then it was something else because you changed all the rules.
Well, all the rules...
Mr. Robertson, you can't do that, sir.
All the rules stayed the same. And how the whole contest was supposed to be set up was, I had 5 women. That was going to be a panel. You had to go up on the stage. You had to explain to them why you should be the player of the year. They was going to tally up their votes. That never happened.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Robertson. How come it never happened?
Because the only person that really came, because after, when I got back to the club...
The only person that came was?
Right here.
Do you know what that makes him? You know what that makes him? Player of the year.
Thank you. Go ahead, tell me. You want to tell me? He never told me.
Mr. Robertson, when you run a contest and you have somebody that enters, like he did, and paid his money, and you didn't get enough people so that it could be the kind of event you wanted, but there were a lot of people in your club that night, right? How many people were in the club?
I had...
How many people were in the club?
I had a lot of ladies at that particular time.
Right.
And then later on, that's when...
You had a lot of ladies. Would you say you had 200 people?
Something like that.
Line was
All
around
right.
the corner,
Hey. You had 200 people, and was that a usual Saturday night, sir?
Something like that.
Did you have more ladies that Saturday night than you usually have?
Yeah, at that particular time.
You think that's because you advertised the Players Ball?
Well, that was the catch, to get the ladies to
Right. So you got what your advertising paid for, Mr. Robertson. Now you have to pay up. The winner, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Thank
Parties
you.
are excused when they step out.
Angela Ricker claims her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalizing her car. Sally is countersuing for car damage and lost wages.
Mrs. Ricker, this lady is your husband's, I assume this is your husband?
Yes.
Your husband's former wife?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she has been harassing you, that
Yes.
she's filed false charges against you,
Absolutely.
seeking a temporary restraining order, and you are seeking damages.
Absolutely.
The former Mrs. Ricker says that everything that she said in her application for a restraining order is true. She is counterclaiming for harassment and for vandalism that she alleges you did to her car. So, how long were you married to Mr. Ricker?
12 years.
You have children?
We have 3 children.
How old are they?
14, 12, and 7.
When were you divorced?
Our paperwork went through in 2005, but I left in 2002.
And when did you marry?
2 years ago, March 29th.
Do you have children?
No, we do not.
On what date was this restraining order filed?
I believe it was the 20th
of
March. The alleged incident was on the 17th, which would have been St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I'm going to start with you. Tell me your first name.
Sally.
So that we can differentiate between the Mrs. Rickers. You're Sally. Tell me what happened on March 17th.
On March 17th, I was at an establishment near where I work. My car was parked.
What
in the parking lot.
establishment were you near where you worked?
I was at a nail salon called Tammy's Salon.
Okay.
And I'm looking out the window. I happen to look out and I see both Tyler and Angela drive up, and I'm
What
shocked.
time?
It was about 2:30. I saw Tyler get out of the car, and then I saw Angela get out of the passenger side door, And together, they hurriedly sort of walked into my place of employment.
What is the name of your place of employment?
I work at Trader Joe's. I happened to be off this day.
So you were off on March 17th?
I was.
How far is your place of employment from where you live?
4 miles across town.
Did you have an appointment for your nails?
No.
What was the name of the person who did your nails?
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. She's an Asian woman, and I don't know her name.
Does she usually do your nails?
No, I walk in.
So you don't go to any particular person?
Not at that place, no.
Is there any reason why you went to that place on that day, despite the fact that you weren't working that day?
I had some time to myself. As I'm still parenting my 3 children, I don't get a lot of time away.
Yeah, but this place is cross town. Why would you go cross town unless you have a particular nail lady who does your nails and had an appointment rather than walking into some place that's closer and not cross town?
Well, it's inexpensive. I had a few hours to go do my nails and get some groceries.
Where were you getting your groceries?
At Trader Joe's.
Did you actually go into Trader Joe's?
No, I decided not to go in.
Go ahead, Sally.
So?
Go ahead. I'm listening. So they went into Trader Joe's, and you were having your nails done by a person whose name you don't know, and you just happened to be looking out the window. Let me hear the rest.
Yes, so they continued to walk in, and they asked for me while they were in the store. And
How do you know that?
Because I had a conversation with my son. I called my son after I saw them.
Just a second. You called your son where?
I called my son from my cell phone.
And where was he?
He was at his grandmother's house. And I asked them if he had heard from his dad that day, because we haven't heard or seen from Tyler in 9 months. And so I called my son to see if he had heard from his dad this day, to find out why he would be in town. And he said, yes, he was there with Angela, and they were looking for you at the store.
What's your son's name?
My son's name is Aaron.
How old is he?
He's 14.
Stand up, sir. Did you call your son that day, Mr. Richter?
I did.
Where did you reach him?
I
on his
reached
cell
him
phone?
Yes, on his cell phone. He was at my parents' house.
At your parents' house?
Yes.
And did you ask him where his mother was?
I asked if his mother was at work.
Why?
Because I had part of his birthday present to give to him.
Which part?
A credit card that had come in the mail after his birthday.
Did you see him that day?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because he was at my parents' house.
Are you not allowed to be there?
It's not a comfortable place for me to be, but I'm allowed to be there.
Well, if you wanted to give him a credit card, why did you ask where his mother was?
I was going to give it to her if she was there.
So did you end up giving him his birthday present?
I did not.
Why not?
I was told she was not there.
Did you go into Trader Vic's?
Trader Joe's?
Trader
yes.
Joe's?
Yes, I did go into Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, Trader. What?
Had a cup of coffee, and my wife and I did a little bit of shopping.
On the 17th of March, how long had it been since you'd seen your son?
I had seen him on his birthday, which was 1 month prior to that.
Where did you see him?
I saw him in Pleasanton at his mother's house.
Spent some time with him?
Yeah.
Why did you say he hadn't seen the children for 9 months?
Prior to that, Tyler had left Angela.
Listen to me. You told me that he hadn't seen the children for 9 months. He
Right.
said he saw his son in February, a month before. Well, which is true.
He did not come to our house.
I didn't care whether he came to your house or not. I don't care whether he saw the children at McDonald's. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
I asked you a question. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
Did he see his son in February of 2007?
He did not see his son on February 15th.
I didn't ask you about February 15th. I said, did he see his son in February?
No, he did not see his son in February.
I don't believe you.
He saw his son on March 28th when he left his wife Angela and came into town for a few days.
Are you on medication?
No, I am not.
There is no question in my mind that he saw his son in February, a month before the March incident. So when I asked you the question 4 times, you gave me an evasive answer. 4 times. Now I'm asking you one more time. It's very easy for me to find out. All I have to do is call Aaron. Did he see Aaron in February, anywhere, at any time during the month of February of 2007?
I'm telling you that he did not see his son in February. I would have known that because we were together. If he saw his son, it could have been at school.
Where did you see him in February?
I saw him the weekend before his birthday. I had a hotel room in Pleasanton at Extended Stay Hotels. His mother dropped them off there, all 3 of my children.
All 3 children?
Yes, they stayed with me for the
hotel?
entire weekend, including Monday, which was a holiday. I saw them later at her house in February.
Of
And I
2007.
was there on his birthday.
On February 2007.
Yes.
Let's go,
That
Sally.
is not true.
Let's
That is not true.
just a
When he-
second. You want me to call Aaron? Very simple to find out. He has a cell phone.
Yes, he does.
You want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? Do you want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? I hate to get him involved in this, but I'm prepared to do it because it's very important to me.
It's important to me to be able to speak as well. So
I asked
do
you a
want-
question. Did he see his children in February of 2007? And I'm
Yes.
going to be able to
Yes.
find that out either through you or through Aaron, who I will reach
Yes.
on his cell phone.
On February 27th, yes. In February, Tyler saw Aaron.
Fine. Okay, now you're going to tell me that you saw Angela vandalize your car.
Yes, I did.
Is that you're going to continue? Let's go.
So on the way back out to the car, I was watching Angela as she had circled my car, and she started by standing and waiting for me, and then I saw her come around all 4 circles of my car with sort of a dragging movement with her arms swiping. And when I saw her out there, I had no idea what she could have been doing to my car. I knew that she may have been...
Don't tell me what you
what
thought.
she-
I don't care what you thought.
Okay.
You have pictures of your car and you have a police report.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
These are the 2 that printed out. And then this is the police report. It spans all 4 doors of my car. Unfortunately, there are only 2 pictures that showed up.
Did you scratch our car?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened when you left Trader Joe's.
We got into the car and we went home. We were going to my grandmother's. When I go from San Leandro to Stockton, where my family is, we usually stop at that Trader Joe's. It's right off the highway. It's very convenient for me. After all of this happened, it ruined my trip and I went home. I was devastated. I was very angry.
What do you mean after all of this happened? What
Well,
happened?
she told Erin on the phone that I had done this to her car, you know, involved a 14-year-old in this. It just really, it hit. And then when I got accused of this and a police report was put out, brought into court.
Can I see the underlying paperwork, please,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
went along with her application for a restraining order?
Yes, ma'am. Since we've established that, most of that is fallacious. It's false. There's nothing about bipolarity nor schizophrenia.
Okay. In your application for an order of protection, which is, I assume, written in your own hand, you say Angela came to my place of work unannounced, and she later called my son and verbally abused him. Did you speak to Aaron later?
I did speak to Aaron.
Tell me what happened when you spoke to him.
I spoke to him and I asked him why he was saying those things to
Saying
his
what
father.
things?
That I had vandalized the car, that I'd gone into her work looking for her, harassing, stalking, using those words. Aaron and I have never had any problems. I haven't seen the children in almost a year because of this behavior. I've refused to allow them in my home when I'm there.
Why?
Because of her. She debriefs them every time they go home. It's a drama from Friday to Sunday. Phone calls, it's just never a drop-off pickup. It's always something, and I couldn't handle it. Our marriage has been in jeopardy for almost 2 years because of this.
In your application for a restraining order,
Yes.
you say Angela is explosive
Yes.
and goes on and off her medication for schizophrenia and bipolar illness.
That's according to my ex-husband.
Did you ever tell her that?
Absolutely not.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
When did he tell you that she was bipolar and schizophrenic?
When he left her in February, it was February 27th, he left because they were having a domestic dispute.
Okay, so he left and in February.
In February, yes.
Go ahead.
I know I won't live that one down. I'm sorry.
You won't?
I know. I'm sorry. So, anyway, his brother brought him into town. He didn't have any money. He didn't have a job. Nothing. Brought him into town. He said he wanted to see the kids. And from that point, he had not seen the kids for 9 months, okay?
So why would you tell me that he didn't see the children in February when he did?
Well, no, because, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous today. I'm very, very sorry.
It's nervous is not an answer,
It
madam.
was
You told me
February-
a very cogent story about everything that you allegedly saw with regard to this lady, how she stalked your car, how she bent down, how she had sweeping motions. But when I asked you a question, a half a dozen times, You refuse to give me an honest answer about when your husband last saw his children.
He wasn't at my house on February 15th, which was
I
Aaron's
didn't ask you anything about February 15th. I didn't even know when Aaron's birthday was.
Okay.
I asked you February. You said 9 months. He said February. Wasn't until I was planning to call Aaron and find out whether he had seen his father in February that you finally said he saw him in February. Do you understand that that gives me cause to pause?
Yes.
Well, it does. Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You ever been diagnosed as schizophrenic?
No, ma'am.
Bipolar?
No, ma'am. Your Honor, it was not February 27th that we separated. It was the beginning of the month. He was in Point Reyes. He decided to stay there with a friend at a bed and breakfast to do some work on the home. He was at her house. He called me from her house.
I understand that.
Angela Ricker says her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalism.
Now, you let him stay with your children? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Have your children spent time with the plaintiff in her home?
Yes, they have.
And they've come home in one piece?
Basically.
Not for a year.
Shh. Others to be protected. Absolutely. Angela has no discretion when she is angry. My children should never be anywhere near this person.
They have a history of domestic violence.
Was there a history of domestic violence with you?
I left.
That's just a second. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
So there was a history of domestic violence with you?
With my husband.
So, I got it. And you allowed that situation to go on more than once?
Yes.
You allowed your children to remain in a situation where there was domestic violence?
I left that
You let it go
situation.
on for a long time? Do you understand, Mrs. Richter? Do you have a full-time job?
I do.
How long have you been working for the same place?
This job I have currently is 4 months.
Do you have a significant other or a husband?
No, I do not.
Are you working? Take your hands out of your pockets.
Not right now, no.
Why not? Is not an answer.
I had a job up until April 1st working on airplanes. I was let go from that job.
Up until April 1st, were you paying child support?
I was.
How much?
$411 a month was taken from my checks.
How long had you been paying the $411?
Only for a month at that point, and then there was a large gap between that point and the last time I held a job.
Well, Mr. Richter, that's unacceptable, sir.
I understand that.
Very unacceptable. No, not
I'm
unacceptable.
injured, Your Honor. I'm injured.
Very unacceptable, sir.
I do understand that. I was injured at my last job,
Yeah?
and the injury prevented me from working.
What was the last job?
The last job was working for Vortex Stores,
Yeah?
and
What year?
from June to August of 2006.
Well, that's a couple of months, sir.
I understand that. I was injured. I had a severe back injury.
So that you were out of work for 2 months.
I was out of work until I got a job in March of 2007.
Who supports you?
Workman's Comp was supposed to be, but the company that hired me is fighting all of that, and so Workman's Comp did not pay my payments. That's currently
So you've been
in litigation.
You've been separated from your former wife since 2002.
Since 2002.
Since 2002, until you were injured. Just listen to me carefully. Until you were injured in June of 2006, were you regularly paying child support?
I was. I regularly paid child support when I had a job.
That's not my question. Don't play with me.
Oh, I'm not
You two
playing
people
with you, Your
deserve
Honor.
each other. You two people deserve each other. Not when you were working. How old are you?
I'm 40.
You have 3 children.
I understand
There is
that.
no question that you have to be employed regularly. And I don't care whether you work at McDonald's or if you don't have another job, if you work at a car wash, drying cars, if you can't do something else. You have 3 children. No wonder she's furious with you. You work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a registered nurse.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do.
So you support the family?
Yes, I do.
Right. No wonder she's furious with you. Collect cans if you have to, but you send money. And if she's angry with you, unfortunately, she took it out on the wrong person. Because I don't believe you, madam, that you saw her vandalize your car. I don't believe you. The case was dismissed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did anybody else ask you the questions that I asked you about the name of this person who did your nails, why you traveled cross town to get your nails done? Was the person who tried this case?
No, he did not.
He did not?
No.
Because he doesn't understand that you don't travel cross town to just walk into a nail salon. You can walk into a nail salon anywhere. You don't have to travel 4 miles cross town to do that. A lot of baloney. I don't believe you. I believe that you're angry with him. And I believe that you're angry with her because she's an enabler, because she's working, he's not. at least on the books anywhere, and he's not paying support. I got that you're angry, but you can't do this. This is nonsense, and I don't believe you.
Well, I saw it happen.
No, it didn't. I think that you probably even scratched your own car. But I don't believe that she scratched your car. I don't believe that this professional woman scratched your car.
I wouldn't have done that to
No
my car.
way. No way. And when you lie to me once, I don't believe you again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Start working, sir. That's what you're supposed to do. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Terrell Taggart claims ex-fiancé Travis Miller owes for false allegations of assault, money taken from a joint bank account, and his share of wedding expenses.
Miss Taggart, you and Mr. Miller were engaged to be
Yes, ma'am.
married. You have a child from a previous relationship.
Yes, I do.
And the three of you live together.
Yes.
There came a time when that engagement and that relationship terminated. You were in the process of planning a wedding, and it is your claim that Mr. Miller owes you for a whole host of things. First, false allegations that he made with regard to an incident where he claimed that you bit him and assaulted him, emptying out a bank account that was yours, not giving you property back that belonged to you, and wedding expenses that you paid for. Mr. Miller says he doesn't owe you a dime. He also paid for wedding expenses. He says that the allegations of assault were absolutely true. He doesn't have any property that belongs to you anymore, and he really wants you to move on with your life because he says that his life has been made unbearable by you and your family, who have embarked on a constant course of harassment, including filing of multiple lawsuits.
Yes,
so
Your Honor.
far, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, when did this blissful relationship commence?
We got engaged on September 16th of 2005.
Were you living together at the time?
We didn't move in together until the next month.
You moved in together in whose home?
We rented an apartment together, and we both signed the lease.
And when was this argument that terminated the relationship?
The argument happened on May 10th, which was 10 days before the wedding was supposed to happen.
Is that when the assault allegedly took place, sir?
Approximately, Your Honor.
Not approximately.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Taggart?
Yes, ma'am. I had gone to Morgan, where all of the wedding arrangements were to take place, to finalize the cake and the
Flowers.
I called him at work and told him I was going to be going, and he didn't want me to go.
Why didn't you want her to go?
Well, because, Your Honor, I wanted to participate in the formalizing of this wedding.
Then he told you that?
No, he did not tell me that.
What did he tell you?
He just told me that he didn't want me to go, and previously he'd told me that he didn't want anything to do with planning it, that it was my wedding and I was in charge of planning it.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went to him, called me several times, and he was very upset. And
Well, what did he say to you when he called?
He would just yell at me. He was mad at me because I talked to my mother about how he was upset with me. He didn't want me to even talk to my mother about it.
Miss Taggart, I'm not getting a full picture. After you spoke to him on the phone and he was upset with you, did you call your mother?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why did you call your mother?
I called my mother because when I talked to him on the phone, I was very upset, and I just wanted to call and mostly have somebody just help me calm down so that I wasn't so upset. I was going to finalize wedding plans, and I didn't want to have tears running down my face when I was doing it.
Go ahead.
I finalized the wedding plans, and I called him when I was on my way home, as he'd asked, and he said, well, we'll just talk when you get home. And so I got home, and my son was asleep, and so I took him to bed in our bedroom.
How old is your son?
He's 7 now. He was 6 at the time.
If he was sleeping, where was he sleeping?
He was asleep in the car on the way home.
So you went to finalize the wedding plans with your son?
Yes.
And when you got home, you put your son to bed in your bedroom?
Yes.
Is that where he usually sleeps?
Yes, he had a bed in the front room, but he'd often come and slept in our bed.
That's not an answer, Miss Tackett. 7 years old, they're supposed to sleep in their own room if they have a room. When he slept in your room, where did he sleep?
He would just sleep in the bed. I laid him in there because I knew that Travis and I were going to be having a conversation, and I didn't want it to wake him. So I put him to sleep in our bed. And Travis was standing by the bathroom door when I got home. He gave me a hug, and I went and I sat on the couch in our front room. And a few minutes later, he came and he sat down in the chair across from me. And he started asking me questions and something about like $1,600 missing from the bank account. And I told him it was just all finalizing wedding plans.
Did you have a joint checking account?
We did. He was put on the checking account 2 months prior to this.
And you were working at the time?
Yes.
Who were you working for?
I was working for the Huntsman Cancer Hospital.
And you?
Yes, I'm employed for the state of Utah for JJS, Juvenile Justice Services.
Okay. So you were each depositing your checks in the bank?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this joint bank account. Okay, go ahead.
And so it started to get heated. He started yelling at me about all sorts of things. I remember I was holding a pillow sitting on the couch, and he stood over me, shaking his finger at me, telling me that I was weak and I was worthless, and he couldn't even believe he was attracted to me. And then he asked me to leave, and I was okay with that. At the time, I was fed up with the fight. I was ready to be done with the fight. And so I said, okay, I'll leave. And I went to go back to the bedroom to get my son. And Travis had been drinking prior in the evening. And Travis said, you're not taking him with you. And I said, he's my son and he's going with me. And I tried to get past Travis to go get my son, and he pushed me. And he did this repetitively. He pushed me into the wall, into the kitchen table, into the couch, down on the bed, down on the floor. And I did the pushing and shoving match for a minute, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to call the cops. I grabbed my cell phone and I started to dial 911, and he grabbed my phone and he threw it across the house. After that, I went out and I was kind of freaked out. I stood there for a second, and I decided that I had to get my son. And so I started to get violent with him. I did bite him on the upper left chest. I believe I bit him on the right forearm. I punched him, I kicked him. I was doing everything I could to get my son out of that house.
Why didn't you just go outside and call the police?
A moment of confusion.
Okay.
And so I started to get violent with him. And he said, you're not taking him, he's my son. And I said, you're not to him. And Travis then began to cry. He sat on the floor, and I tried to get past him again to get my son. He then grabbed my legs and threw me to the ground. When I got up again, I started punching him in the top of the head. And I finally got past him. Well, he ran into the bedroom following me, and the fight had escalated, and we were now in the bedroom. I didn't want my son to wake up, and so I laid on top of his ears. I covered his ears so that he wouldn't wake up.
All right, Mr. Miller, you want to tell me, please, your version of what happened on the night of May 10th?
Yes, Your Honor. While Ms. Taggart is emotional, the events that transpired, yes, I'll tell you. I'd gotten off work around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't drunk. I called to pay my cell phone bill, our cell phone bill, over the phone. And I knew from the day before, because she told me she would like to go do some wedding things, and I asked her, can I go with you? I don't go alone. I said I got off at 4. Prior to this, I called the cell phone company, and they said, no money in your account. So I got home, and I was a little upset, sober, not drunk. And we did have an argument. Her son was sleeping in our room, and if we did have such a horrendous fight, he would have woken up in the first place. She did assault me. I didn't touch her. She could have called the police at any time. I did ask her to leave at that time because she was emotional. And that's about how it transpired, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Taggart. So let me explain something to you. Let's deal with the false allegations of abuse. There were no false allegations of abuse. You lost your cool, and you assaulted him. That's it. You bit him. You bit him here, you bit him here, you bit him here. I'm not sure whether I believe that he struck you and abused you, because if he did, the police would have arrested him. Did they respond to your home?
They did not. I actually tried to file a police report several times within the following weeks. I went to the desk, and the officer at the desk didn't care. They just shrugged me off.
Okay, there were many ways you could have handled the incident that occurred in your house on the 10th of May. You chose the most inappropriate one. Most appropriate one is if you're having a fight with him, and if you were emotional, which clearly you were, it's not the right time to take your son out of a sleeping bed. There's no question in my mind that Mr. Miller was not going to hurt your son. So you go outside, you cool off, you call your mother, you call the police if you have to. You say, I want to go get my son. But what you don't do is you don't bite him and kick him and scratch him and punch him, and then go inside and put your hands over your son's sleeping ears so that he won't be awake. That's stupid. You agree with that, don't you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, then that's your problem. Because that's the right thing to do if you're a reasonable mother. Your daughter is emotional. She's your daughter, isn't it?
Yes.
Your daughter is emotional, and the truth of the matter is, on that day, May 10th, based upon what she told me, she did the wrong thing. She went to finalize wedding plans. He asked her not to go, to wait for him until he got out of work. She went anyway. There's no question he got upset with her. Instead of resolving the issue, she calls her mommy. Certainly, that's not the way two grown-ups are supposed to deal with their wedding plans. Your daughter got emotional. I don't believe Mr. Miller was drunk. I don't believe that for a minute. So, let's deal with the bank account. You say, Ms. Taggart, that Mr. Miller emptied the bank account.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
On what date did he empty the bank account?
It was the day immediately following the fight. It would have been May 11th.
How much money was in the bank account?
There was probably about 350-ish.
What do you mean 350-ish? Show me the account.
I don't know if I have the exact statement for that month.
Well, then I'm not interested in that part of the lawsuit, madam. That's what you're supposed to have here.
Ms.
Taggart, if you come to court And you're suing because you say that he emptied out a joint bank account. What you have to bring is you have to bring proof of that. And that would be the bank statement for when he closed that bank account, how much money was in it, and it would also show me how much money was in it the day before the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have that?
I only have the bank statements up until April, so I do not have that one.
Not interested. Okay, so empty out the bank account you don't have any proof of. Wedding expenses. Who was planning the wedding?
I was, as he had told me to.
Who was paying for the wedding?
I was, out of my income tax return.
So?
So that is where I come with the opinion that he owes me at least half of that.
He doesn't. There has to be an agreement. In the event that Mr. Miller said to you, which of course he didn't, I am going to pay for half of the wedding, then that's a contract. But Mr. Miller didn't say that to you. What you want is you want half the wedding expenses because there was no wedding, right?
This is right.
But that's not the way the law works. There's nothing in the law that gives you the right and gives me the right to say to Mr. Miller, well, it didn't work out and you should pay for half the expenses. That's a different kind of court. It's a court that doesn't exist in this country. Now, what property do you allege that you left at his house?
There is a mirror that was given to me as a Christmas gift from him. He would not allow me to take it because he said it matched the bed that his father had given us as an early wedding present. There's an anatomy book that I like to refer to for work. It's a very expensive Gray's Anatomy book. Just a few little things. I had gone to his house.
Not interested in a few little things, madam. I'm waiting. So far, I have a mirror and a book.
Also, since the bed was given to us as a mutual gift from his father, I believe that I deserve half of the cost of the bed.
Got to get over it, Miss Taggart. Got to move on, Miss Taggart. Didn't work out. Didn't work out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terrell Taggart is accusing her ex-fiancé of false allegations of assault, stealing money from their bank account, and unpaid wedding expenses.
Okay. Did you buy her an anatomy book?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you have it?
No, Your Honor.
Where is it?
About 3 days after she had left, my house was burglarized, broken into, coincidentally enough.
When you say the house was burglarized, what was taken?
Everything from couch, TV stand, television, all appliances, the mirror, blankets, you name it, it was burglarized.
Got it.
Okay.
Miss Taggart, you have to get over it. Move on. Put your hand down. Don't encourage her. Encourage her to move on.
I have encouraged her to
Good.
move on.
Good. Move on. It's over. Find somebody else. Devote all of your energies to something else. It's finished. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Amanda Peters claims ex-roommate Holly Ward owes for breaking an apartment lease, stealing money from her wallet, and for damaging her car.
Miss Peters, you and Miss Ward were roommates. It is your claim that after a failed road trip that didn't work out as well as you expected, Miss Ward decided to stay home.
Yes.
And she left you in the lurch with the lease. You want her to pay the rent. In addition, you say that she stole some money from you and that she at some point damaged your car. You want her to pay for that.
Yes.
Miss Ward says she was pregnant, decided to stay home with her parents, I assume, that she denies taking any of your money, and she says that the damage to the car just didn't happen. She also says that your boyfriend moved in with you into the apartment and he wasn't paying his fair share of the rent. So, is this your boyfriend?
Yes.
How many people signed the lease to the apartment?
2, me and Holly.
Did Holly have a boyfriend living with her?
No.
But your boyfriend was living with you?
He wasn't living there. He was.
Yeah, he is.
Yes,
he lives
was.
there. He lives there. Don't tell me he wasn't living there. He lives there. Don't speak unless I speak to you. You want me to get the address that you listed, sir, when you filled out the forms for this program?
Yes.
Do you want me to get the forms that you filled out with the address?
I put 718.
And who lives there?
My mother.
What's your mother's phone number?
She doesn't have a phone.
Oh, everybody has a phone,
But
sir.
there's a number you could reach her at, but she don't have a phone herself.
You get what I'm saying to you, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. When did you sign this lease with the defendant?
On December 1st, 2006.
And when did you take this road trip?
In the beginning of April, like April
15th.
Where's the father of this baby that you're having?
In Ohio.
And where are you living now?
Alabama.
Who went on the road trip?
The 3 of us.
Whose car did you use?
Amanda's.
You got stopped and you were all arrested for drug possession, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What happened with your case?
I got 2 years probation.
What about you?
I just got charged as a misdemeanor and got fined. She got charged with all that because she was pregnant.
I got charged
doing
with
drugs while
misdemeanor
she
and got
was
a
pregnant.
We all three got, well, me and Amanda got charged with possession too.
And what about you?
I did 31 days because wouldn't nobody sign for me.
No, he got 30 days because he had prior possessions.
No, I got 30 days. That is untrue, Your Honor.
Now, what is the rent?
It's $500 a month.
Stand up. Your last name?
Lucky, L-U-C-K-E-Y.
I'm not so sure.
I heard that.
Who do you work for?
I work for Ford.
What do you do for them?
We call offices.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Peters?
I'm a waitress.
Fine. Mr. Lucky,
Yes.
you may have to kick in for some rent, sir. Do you understand?
I wasn't standing there at the time.
Well, now
Yes, he was.
Now, just a second.
No,
Just a second. Now you can stay there.
Well, she shouldn't have signed
Lucky,
my lease.
Mr. Lucky, when did you arrive from Ohio?
We did arrived Tuesday.
You arrived Tuesday.
Yesterday.
Shh.
Yes.
And where are you staying?
I'm staying at the Sheraton Hotel.
And where are you staying, Miss Peters?
At the Sheraton Hotel.
In the same room?
Yes.
And when you go back to Ohio, you're going to go back and stay with your mother. Is that what you're telling me?
And yes.
I'm
after
giving you
this case
permission. You
matter.
could stay with Miss Peters.
I didn't
And now
want to
you're
stay
going to
with
pay.
her because
And now
of
you're
this
going to
issue.
pay the rent. Sit down. Who brought the marijuana into the car?
All three of us did.
That wasn't mine.
No.
All
Holly
three of
did.
us did. All
Holly
three of us
did.
did. We all three went to jail for the possession.
It's not what I asked you. I said, who brought it into the car?
Holly.
Holly.
Lucky. I didn't. Lucky sells marijuana.
Okay.
That's his
no,
job.
that's
Prior
not
to 2
true.
months before, he didn't have this job now.
That's a lie. She
Now,
made that up.
shh. Now, when is your baby due?
I already had him.
You already
June
had your baby.
29th, yes.
And who's taking care of your baby now?
My mother.
Baby healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Weren't stupid enough to smoke marijuana while you were pregnant,
Actually, I
were
was.
you? Yeah.
That's how she got 2 years.
That's
Was drinking and a whole bunch of other stuff. She
I
did
didn't
while she
drink
was
with my
pregnant.
baby. My baby was perfectly
Yes, you
healthy,
did.
born 4 weeks early, didn't need anything. 6 pounds, 8 ounces.
great. Okay. So now, Miss Peters,
Yes.
now you have your boyfriend living with you. How big is this apartment, by the way?
It's a 2-bedroom apartment.
Well, Your Honor, at first, when I first moved in with Amanda, it was in March of 2005. Lucky moved in June of 2005. We were all living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Then his cousin moved in, Lewis, with his baby mama, Shataya. We all 5 lived there. I still paid half the rent.
Just
they
a
didn't pay
second.
nothing.
No.
Just a second. How long?
And his cousin got a job at our job.
Just a second. How long did his cousin and his
They lived
baby
there.
mama live there?
They lived there from
What?
from October till December when we got our 2-bedroom and they got their 1-bedroom apartment.
What's your cousin's name?
My cousin's name is Lewis, and he was not living there.
Yes, he was, Your Honor.
Listen,
Okay,
I am
he'll
very,
manage
very
from
unhappy
Denver.
about
Yeah.
this whole situation. All I can tell you, Miss Peters, is now you can have your boyfriend full-time. Your boyfriend of 6 years full-time. He's going to live with you and he's going to pay the rent. You get nothing from her. Next. Now, let's talk about this stolen money. You say that she stole money from you.
Yes.
You
No,
know
from
this.
her and her
Shh,
boyfriend.
I don't want to hear you.
Okay.
I'm not happy with you either. Anyone who smokes dope while they're pregnant is an idiot. Now, tell me about this alleged money.
All right. I gave my boyfriend $300 to put up for me. I was going to put my car in the shop and have some work done to it. Well, I picked him up one night. He was going to come spend the night with me. The wallet came up missing that night while he was at the house. Yeah, I went to drop him off the next morning, and the wallet wasn't there.
And
he said it was Holly all along. I mean, I really didn't think it was at first, but I found the wallet in her room when I was cleaning it out after she left.
Where's the wallet?
It's right here.
Let me see it.
Can I?
Shh.
Okay.
When, for the first time, did you tell Holly about the missing wallet?
I didn't tell her.
You didn't tell her?
No, she was in Alabama when I found it.
You didn't call her?
No.
No, I'm not saying when you found it. Listen to me. Miss Peters, when the wallet came up missing, she had to have been there. Otherwise, how could she
Yeah.
get it? Not from Ohio to Alabama.
No,
she has
it
that
was
very
months
long
ago.
arms. Now, So when did you first discuss with her the fact that this wallet was missing?
Oh, it was around the time when we moved into our two-bedroom apartment. So
And how
around
long did you live in the two-bedroom apartment?
I'm still there now. So from December until now.
How long did she live there?
Until April 15th.
So the wallet came up missing in December?
Yes.
And you found it when?
When I came back May 9th or 8th, I mean.
Yeah, do me a favor. Return that to her. Tell me about the damaged car.
She damaged my car, parallel parking it.
When?
In November, the first week of November.
November of '06?
Yes, ma'am.
Show me the bill where you had it fixed.
I haven't gotten it fixed yet. I haven't had the money. But I have an estimate from where we both took it, and she came with me when I got the estimate.
Oh, well, tell me how it happened.
Oh, she parallel. He was in the car. I wasn't in the car. She asked to borrow my car one day, and she brought it back with these scratches on the front bumper.
Let
he
me
was
see
in
the pictures of the front bumper. How did you scratch the bumper?
I didn't scratch the front of her car.
Who did?
Lucky. He was on his way to school in November, and at a red light, he hit the back of another car.
I have a picture of the truck that she hit also with the dent in the bumper where she hit
She says it was Lucky.
It wasn't. She went with me when I got the statement.
I did not go with her. I was at work when she got that statement done with Lucky.
She had borrowed Amanda's car, and I needed to go home that following morning.
He was living with us. Why would I take him home?
don't want you to interrupt. If you interrupt again, it's not going to be good for you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the way taking me home to my mother's house, she was trying to parallel park in front of another car, and she hit the back.
On the way, she was trying to parallel park?
No, when we got to my mother's house.
Why park if she was just dropping you off?
Because she was parking to drop me off.
Why was she parking to drop you off? Why didn't you just come?
She was the driver.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Goodbye. You all deserve each other. That's it. Case is dismissed. Take him outside for a
Julie and David Cotton are suing family friend, 18-year-old Dylan Strittmatter, for crashing a golf cart during their wedding reception. Dylan claims he is not guilty.
Who was getting married?
Julie and I.
According to your complaint, Miss Cotton, your family lives on the river.
Correct.
Is that where the wedding was?
Yes.
The defendant is the son of an old family friend, and because there was so much land and the venue was spread out, you rented 2 golf carts, sort of help people get from one place to another, especially people who might have been a little older. Those golf carts were just rented for the event. Okay. It is your claim that the defendant, without permission, drove one of those golf carts and damaged it. You're being charged by the rental company for the damage to the golf cart, and you want him to pay for it.
Correct.
Who saw Mr. Strittmatter riding the golf cart?
Tristan Hall.
How old are you, Mr. Hall?
18.
What do you know about Mr. Strittmatter and the golf cart?
Well, I was the guy in charge of taking people to and from the parking to the wedding, and we were at the reception.
At the golf cart, with the golf cart.
Right. And after the wedding, we went to the reception, and we had the 2 golf carts parked over there. And we were all sitting around eating, and I saw them take off in the golf cart, and we just went out. I went out there after them to see what.
Saw who taking off?
Dylan and Greg.
That's Dylan would be you?
Yes.
And who's Greg?
I'm Greg.
Perfect, I love it. No, I didn't ask you to go over there yet.
Well,
I didn't ask you to go over there yet.
Okay. That is a lot.
I didn't go over. Go ahead.
Okay, so I went out there, and we were just riding. We were riding around for a little while.
Who was riding around?
Me, Dylan, and Greg.
How did you get on the golf cart?
Because I went out there. When I saw him riding around, I walked out there.
So you walked outside, and the 3 of you got on the golf cart.
Right. Well, they were on it first. I went out there after they were already on it. I went out there.
Who drove?
They were driving. We all took turns driving.
Who drove first?
Tristan drove first, but there's also a 4th person in the party. Their son Chase was also in the golf cart, and he also drove it with us.
Is that right?
Chase was in the golf cart, yes.
So who drove first?
I guess I drove first.
Who drove second?
Chase drove second.
Who drove third?
I drove third.
All right, what happened next?
Okay, so we're driving around, and we were just driving around with the golf cart, and after a little while, I said, okay, we should probably bring this back. So we were on our way back down this road, and that's whenever he thought he could make it through these 2 rocks, if that's what you want to call them. They were more like boulders, and then he just ran into one of them.
Now, did you know you weren't supposed to be driving around in that golf cart at that time?
In the back of my mind, I did.
And did you know you weren't supposed to be hey, did you look at me? Did you know you weren't supposed to be driving around in the golf court at that time?
Yes, I knew that.
Did you know you weren't supposed to be driving around at that time? And I assume he wasn't supposed to be driving around at that time.
That's correct.
So what are you suing him for?
Because he had been drinking at the wedding at my mom's, and I had told him to put it down, and I saw them take off, but mind you, I'm in the middle of my reception, and I heard them, and so did my friends, hear them screaming, "Come on, let's go get on the golf cart." It was just those two, and they were drunk at our wedding. They did take it. The owner of the...
Your son was there. How old is he?
13.
What'd you do to him?
Actually, both of my sons had told them, and so had Tristan, to stop, and he
They
was
were driving around in the golf cart.
Well, a little more than driving. He was driving erratically.
Just a second. Where do you think it's all his responsibility?
Because he was told to put it back, and he didn't.
Who told him to put it back?
All of them.
They did not. They were driving around with it. They did not tell him to put it back. What are you, nuts? Listen, Miss Cotton.
Yes.
If you're telling me that you saw them get in the golf cart and drive around with it, and you didn't leave your reception to go and stop them from driving around with it.
My oldest son actually did.
He's not here. You, not your son. Your 13-year-old was in the golf cart.
Right, but my oldest son also took the keys from them.
Did you see that?
No, but they all told me, and the owner
They can't
of the
tell
golf
you anything,
cart.
Miss Cotton. You have a responsibility. A golf cart is an attractive nuisance. That's what it is for young people. That's why your 13-year-old got in the golf cart.
Well, I mean, he admitted to wrecking it and told us he was sorry.
They were
and
all involved in it. If anything, he's responsible for a quarter of it, not for the whole thing. Your son is responsible, therefore you're responsible
My
for a
son
quarter.
is 13.
He's responsible for a quarter. He's responsible for a quarter. He's not responsible for the whole damage to the golf cart. They shouldn't have been in the golf cart to begin with. And if you saw them and you're the grown-up, you should have seen to it that they weren't in the golf cart.
Can I say something?
Listen, if you knew he was drinking, what's the drinking age where you are anyway?
21.
If he got hurt and he had been drinking at your wedding, he would have owned that house on the river.
I can't control him. He's not my child.
Oh, yes, you can. You can put him out of your house.
He wasn't at our house. It was an open field. We weren't there. He went off in a different area.
Miss Cotton, it's your responsibility when you have an event to ensure that there is no underage drinking. And based upon what you tell me, you saw him drinking and drunk at your wedding. You then saw him get into a golf cart and drive away, and it was your reception, and you couldn't do anything about it because you didn't want to leave the reception. That's what you told me.
I didn't see him get in. I heard them say they were going to do it and take off, and people were
Miss Cotton, I'm getting less and less sympathy for you. I mean, that doesn't give him any right to do that, and he's going to pay for 1/4 of the damage. But I have less and less sympathy for you. You planned a wedding, and you had a bunch of kids, including these two people, not only the defendant, who were drinking at your wedding. And that's your responsibility. You are responsible for the venue. That's what the law says. And if they had gotten into a car instead of a golf cart, and instead of going between a boulder and scratching your golf cart, which is what he did, he got into his car and he killed somebody, you know who they'd come after? You. That's what the law says.
I didn't serve him the alcohol, and he stole
You
it.
did serve him alcohol.
I did.
Duh.
Actually, we didn't serve him the alcohol.
You did serve him alcohol.
Well, I mean, it's in a bar area. Anybody can walk to the bar and get it.
He didn't get it from the bar. He did go and take it.
Did you get it from the bar?
Actually, there was a fountain outside the wedding reception that had wine, and there's a cup there and cups, and you could just go in and pour yourself some.
And did you not look at me and I told
Just
you
a
to
second.
put it down?
Just a second. Is
yes,
that what
you
you're
did,
telling me?
Dylan.
Then what you do is when you have children and you have open alcohol, you ensure that the children who are there don't drink the alcohol.
Well,
Miss Cotton, you're going to talk to me. You, me. Maybe you're used to getting the last word. I'm trying to tell you, 16 years of education and 30 years in the judicial system, it's your responsibility to ensure no underage drinking at your venue. Do you understand?
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost to fix this golf cart?
$1,119.35.
Your responsibility is $279, young man. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $279, only because you have to accept a certain amount of responsibility. Think that's reasonable? Sure. Good. That's all.
Laura Francis says her niece, Tammy Wickham, owes for a loan for school tuition and 2 months' rent. Tammy claims she never agreed to pay the money back.
Miss Francis, the defendant is your niece?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for a loan, for some school tuition, and also for rent that you were forced to pay on her behalf because you had signed a lease for her and her children to live in an apartment, and she did not pay the rent, so you were forced to. Ms. Wickham says that's absolutely ridiculous. You did, in fact, pay the tuition for her, but the reason you paid the tuition for her is that she was working for you at the time and you couldn't afford to pay her, so that you paid her tuition instead. And with regard to any other money, she said you have some nerve suing her because she actually made a loan to you for $25,000.
Correct.
When did you give her $25,000?
In February of 2007.
Where did you get $25,000 from?
I sold my home and had a large chunk from selling my home.
How much?
How much did I get from the house?
Yes.
$84,000.
And what did you give Miss Francis $25,000 for?
She had helped me out in a legal situation, and as a thank you, I lent her money. She was in a bind financially.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Now I'm going to ask you about it. Okay. Tell me about this $25,000. I'm curious.
I have no idea about the $25,000. She's never in her life lent me 5 cents.
Do you have any proof that you gave her $25,000?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
I would too.
Well, it's actually $27,000.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Just a second.
Okay. She gave me that money to hold for her because she couldn't trust herself to handle her money. She actually got, I think, $102,000 from selling her home. She spent all of that money on attorney fees, all of it, trying to get custody of the 5 children that she doesn't have custody of. And as you can see, she's having yet a 6th child.
So what you're telling me is this wasn't money she gave to you.
This was not money she gave me.
This is money she gave to you to hold for her.
To hold for her.
Did you ever give it back?
Absolutely. Every dime of it, and then some.
That's absolutely not true. If I needed her to hold my money, I would have given her the $84,000 she needed.
Maybe you spent it.
No, I actually
Yeah,
do have some of it left.
Oh, right.
Miss Wickham, you have 5 kids?
I do.
Where are they?
2 of them reside with their father. We have joint custody, and my younger 3 are with their father.
So there are 2 separate fathers?
Correct.
And who is the father of this baby?
The father of my younger 3, my husband.
But you're not living together?
No.
How long haven't you lived together?
Approximately 5 months.
They've never lived together.
Do you ever have a drug problem, Miss Wickham?
Never.
Where do you spend all your money?
I've been going to school for the last 4 years, and I have 5 kids.
Well, right now you don't have custody of any of your children.
It's only been 5 months prior
That's
to that.
That's a long time not to have custody of your children.
Yes. I do have custody of my older 2.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
They live with their father?
They're with me 42%. With him during the week, me weekends, and half of vacation and Wednesdays.
All right, Miss Francis. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on here that I don't know about and probably don't care to know about with regard to this, the facts of this case. Just trying to get a sense of where this $27,000 went.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Because
Go
I
ahead.
gave it all back to her.
Go ahead.
When she was living in my house when she got her kids back, it was almost 2 years. We fought to get her children back.
All right, so the children were taken by the state?
Yes. And then she got them back in, I think, July of 2008. And my sister, which is her mother, and I did everything we could to help her, to support her. Her mother finally in September threw her out. She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Tell me about this tuition loan.
She was collecting grants from school on a regular basis, and I have the school printout. She had to pay back $3,783 to the school because the foster parent called the school and told them that she had lied.
No, you can't tell me what the foster parent says. She had to pay back $3,780.
Right. And she didn't have it. So she came and asked me if she could borrow it. She asked me, had been asking for about a week. And finally, I just got so fed up, I just said, okay, I'll put it on the credit card, but you're going to make the payment. She agreed. She says, if I pay them back $3,720 whatever it is, $83 now. In December, on December 31st, I will get $7,200.
You mean from financial aid?
Right, for going to school. So I agreed to do it so she could continue going to school. She wants to be a lawyer, and she's already in a good position to do that because she's a fabulous lawyer. Therefore, I lent her the money, okay? The next day, she told me, that night actually, she told me to go to in my own home. I'm letting her and her 3 children live with me. And she tells me she's very disrespectful. So I said, call the school. I'm not doing this, Tammy. I'm going to tell them I'm not paying the money. You are on your own. You figure it out. I called the school, and the lady at the financial...
Don't tell me what anybody said. Did you give her $37.80?
I paid the school tuition back, yes.
Okay. What else did you pay for her?
In October, because I couldn't live with her anymore, so I said, you got to go. She left my home. She called me the next day, and I said, where did you stay? She said, we slept in the park. Her and her 3 children in the park all night in the cold. It was in December, and it broke my heart. So she went to welfare, and they gave her vouchers to stay in motels, I guess, for a couple of weeks. But she came calling me, pleading again, Laura, please, can you help me? I can't rent an apartment in my name because I have bad credit, but can you please rent an apartment for me? And because Child Protective Services was coming to check on the residents to see that she had sufficient housing for the children. Not for her, Your Honor, but for the children. I did it. I went up to Victorville and I rented an apartment for her and the kids.
Go ahead.
And it was okay. Thank you.
Where did you expect her to get money to pay for this apartment?
Well, this is what she said. I'm going to get $787 a month from welfare. I'm going to get $1,900 child support from the father of the 2 older kids. And I get $400 and some odd of food stamps every month. I'm going to sell that to my friend Teresa, you know, the food stamps, not feed the kids, sell the food stamps for cash, and I can pay the rent. So I said, okay, one more time. So I did that, and that was October 14th, the day that the social worker was coming to check to see if she had sufficient housing for the children. And she came, and there was no furniture there, but she saw that it was a nice apartment. So that was good. And then December 5th, she was arrested again for leaving the children by themselves at 10 o'clock at night while she went to work at a bar from 10 to 2 in the morning.
How old are the children?
11 was the oldest, 9. The youngest was 6 months old, an infant. 3 under 3.5 years old.
What does the father do, the father of the 3 youngest children?
Well, he was working at somewhere, but she got him fired. He's not working now. He's taking care of the kids on unemployment, I believe.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
You see the children?
Yes.
You see them at your house?
No, we go wherever we have to go to see them. And he's very amenable. We and the kids get along great. They love us.
What about their grandmother? Do they see their grandmother?
Yes, they do.
You go together or
Yes.
separately?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so she paid rent for a while, and how much rent did she not pay?
In December, she gave them a bad check, so they called me because, of course, I'm the contact, and said that now the rent was $990.
How much rent did you pay in her behalf?
$1,087 and some change.
How many months?
That was in December. Then she got out of jail and gave the lawyer all the money she was supposed to give me back for the school, the $3,700, and I was upset. But anyway, I had to pay it because it was in my name. So then again in March, she came to my house and says, I don't have the rent. You pretty much have to pay it because it's in your name. So you really don't have much of a choice, Laura, okay? I hated that, but I did it. I mean, it was the truth. It was in my name, so I paid it. She told me on March 20th she would get another $5,000 from school that she would give me. And she got another $5,000 from school, and I didn't get a dime of it. And then she got $2,900 for filing her income tax, and I didn't get a dime of that either. And
okay, got it. Okay, Ms. Wickham, I'll hear you.
I lived with my aunt while I was pregnant with my youngest for 9 months, and the agreement was I wanted to finish my last semester at school. She was going to pay my financial aid instead of paying me to work for her.
What kind of work did you do?
Real estate assistant. She's a realtor.
When you were living with her, how much rent did you pay her?
I paid $300 here and there, but she would never take my money.
How much rent did you pay her every month?
We had no agreement.
The answer is nothing. How much did you pay her towards utilities?
I would give her $300. I was working here and there.
How much did you? I thought you were working for her in real estate.
I was, but I also worked as a waitress Friday and Saturday nights.
And how much did you pay her to maintain the food in the house?
I bought my own food and also bought food for her.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not. Nonsense. Did you finish school?
I did, just recently.
Did you graduate?
I'm going to graduate this semester. I'll be walking.
Now, I don't know what your problems are. Clearly you have some. If you have an aunt who loves you and has been supportive, and you have a mother who loves you and has tried to be supportive, and these two women in your life have had it with you up to here, you have to acknowledge at some point that you're doing something wrong. And one of the things that you're doing wrong is somebody who can't take care of their children doesn't have another one.
That's the issue. That's why they're upset. Yes.
Hey.
My aunt told me in an email here if I had another child, and she emailed this to my husband, who she dislikes, that if we had another child, she would do everything in her power to make sure none of us ever saw any of our 5 kids again.
I want to tell you something. She's absolutely right. I don't understand what, except that the laws in this country, unfortunately, don't always protect children. Because if I were in charge of your children, and if I didn't have the law as a constraint, I don't think that you or your husband, who you don't live with, is an appropriate caretaker for your children. Because your children have been all over the globe. Your children were taken away and were in foster care. They were in your custody. You left them alone. An 11-year-old with a 6-month-old. And where was the father all this time? Where was his head? Somewhere where it's very, very dark, because he knows, listen, she can't take care of 5 children, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a 6th. Ridiculous. You got to find some other hobby. You got to find some other hobby. And evidently school wasn't enough. Should have had school and work and been so busy that you didn't have time to make number 6. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, but I'm telling you, I would watch very carefully, because there's something not right in the wheels up there. And I don't know about the fathers of these children, because I haven't met them, but certainly these children have not gotten the childhood that they were entitled to, which was a certain sense of continuity and living in the same place and not living in a park and not living alone and not living without furniture and living with a father and living with a mother and living with an aunt. Come on, grow up. First way to grow up is to acknowledge what you owe, and you owe your aunt $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Victoria Klaus says former tenant Kelly Stafford moved out owing for rent. Victoria also claims Kelly vandalized the home.
Miss Klaus, you own a rental property, and the defendant was a tenant of yours for, according to your complaint, about 5 years.
Yes, she was a former friend first and then tenant.
But she was a paying tenant for 5 years. What was the rent on the house?
$630 a month.
Nope. No. What was the rent?
It started out at $590, and then it went up halfway through the 5 years to $620.
Well, that's not much of an increase over the course of 5 years. It is your claim that when she left, she owed you some rent, and also that when you went there after she moved out, the place was a disaster.
Yes.
Costing thousands of dollars in renovations.
Yep.
Ms. Stafford says that she left in mid-April of this past year. She, in fact, gave you rent for half the month of April in cash, and that she left the house in fine condition. She doesn't know what happened, but certainly she left the house in fine condition. When did you pay your rent, Ms. Stafford? At the beginning of each month?
Yeah, that's not true.
Just a second. Don't interrupt when I'm asking her questions. And you paid, according to you, in the last part of the tenancy, $620 a month.
Yes.
How much money did you give Ms. Klaus for April?
$310.
Well, you can't do that.
Okay.
You have to pay for a month's rent. If you choose to move out in the middle of the month, that's your prerogative. But you can't pay for a certain number of days unless you have a previous agreement to do that.
And we did. We talked at the end of March. I told her that I would be moving on the 15th, and she said, "You're kind of leaving me in a jam. That's not fair."
She's absolutely right.
Right. And I told her, and I said, you know,
she's
there's nothing I can do. I said I can do
I'm speaking. Don't speak over me. You told her at the end of March you were going to be moving out April 15th, so you gave her no notice.
There was no lease.
But you gave her no notice after 5. Okay. So let us say I believe you that you gave her $300 in cash. Did she give you $300 in cash?
Yep.
Then you owe her $320.
I gave her $310.
Okay, then you owe her $310.
Already.
Because you can't dictate to her that you're going to be moving out at the middle of the month and you only owe half a month's rent. You owe the entire month's rent.
Okay, because she told me that she agreed to that. That would be fine.
I don't believe that at all. I didn't even have to ask her.
Okay.
Once she says you're leaving me in a lurch by giving me no notice at the end of March, she's not going to say, well, I'm going to be real nice to you. You only have to pay me for half a month.
Okay.
Try to play it straight with me, Miss Stafford. I'll be much more amenable to listening to what you have to say about the destruction of the house if you don't fib at the very beginning.
I'm not fibbing.
Yeah, sure you are. Because something doesn't make sense, it's not true.
Okay.
And if you call a landlord, but you've been a rent-paying customer for 5 years, and you say, I'm not giving you any notice, I'm not giving you 30 days notice, I'm not giving you 60 days notice, I'm moving out in 2 weeks. And the landlord says to you, gee, that's really not nice of you after all this time. I've been very good to you, I've given you minimal rent increases over the course of the 5 years. You know, you could have at least given me an extra 30 days notice. You're not giving me any notice. And then she's going to turn around and say to you, and you only have to pay me $310. Ridiculous.
Your Honor, she came to me in the beginning of March and told me that she would be selling the house. That's when I started looking for a place to live because I didn't want to be left out without a place to live.
Listen to what you're saying to me. She gave you notice the beginning of March that she will be selling the house. Not that she sold it and you have to be out in 2 weeks. So start to prepare yourself.
Absolutely, and I did. And I asked her how long it takes to sell a house. She said, I will be doing it through a paper where he would be paying my mortgage, and then at the end I will just sign the house over to him. It wasn't going to be through a whole real estate or nothing like that.
Did she give you an answer about how long it would take?
No, she did not.
Oh, okay. All right, so now we have $310 that she owes for the month of April. Now, what date did you move out, Miss Stafford?
The 15th.
4/15. And you say you left the house in good condition?
I did.
Okay. When did you go to the house?
I went there on Tuesday, the 19th.
You moved out on the 15th. On the 19th, tell me what you saw.
Well, first, can I just step back 2 days? On April 14th at 7:30, we still had not received any rent at all from them. I sent my husband over there at 7:30 at night. She opened up the door to him. He asked her for the rent. She said his exact words were, I'm not sure if I'm paying you. I'll have to wait and talk to my husband because she's mad over whatever rumors she heard, and shut the door in his face. I went there the next day on Saturday to ask for the rent because she said she would only deal with me, not my husband. I went there, and that is when we got into the discussion of why she said she was upset about some rumors that she had heard at a diner that I was working at, and that's why she wouldn't pay me. And I said to her, I said, you can't just get mad at me over rumors, and I'm not going to get into any of that. This is between me and you. The diner is completely separate. I said, I'm not telling you you have to move right away. You know, it's going to be 3 months. By the end of this conversation, it lasted almost 2 hours.
You were in the house?
No, she came outside. She was very, very angry, and I could tell she did not want me inside. But by the end of this conversation, she promised me, she looked me face to face and promised me she would give me 30 days notice and that she would give me the full month's rent. And I never heard from her again until I knew the property was empty. When the property was empty and the cops were there is when I said to her...
What date was that?
The cops were there on the 4/18.
On the 18th?
Yep.
And Miss Stafford was there?
She wasn't there at first when they got there. I was there. I had noticed the damage, all the disgusting stuff that was done inside the house.
So you were actually inside the house on the 18th, not the 19th?
Right. I was inside the house on the 18th. That's what the police report is for.
Okay.
And I went in and I saw all the damage, and first thing I did was call the cops for a police report because the place was...
Can I see it?
...completely trashed. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Okay, so she did in fact pay the $310,
right,
because that's what she told the police they would do, and she also agreed to clean up the mess,
right,
according to the police. Okay, did she clean up the mess?
No, she didn't. She had told me that she would come the next day on Wednesday. She got out of work at, I believe it was 5 or 6. She said she would come over then and help me herself clean it. I said, okay, I'll be over here cleaning anyway. Go ahead and come over. Well, she never came, never showed. I didn't go home till I think like 6:30. She called me and said that she wouldn't be able to come because she had car trouble. I said, okay, you know what, if you want to call me another day, I'll gladly go back over there with you. I don't want anybody there now while I'm not there because of what's already been done. I don't trust anyone else there. But I will go back over there with you whenever you want to clean. And I have not heard from her since to do it.
Do you have photographs of what the place looked like?
I have photographs, I have estimates, I have a video.
First, let's take a look at the photographs.
Would you like the video too?
In a minute. Would you show these to the defendant, please?
It's funny. I'm not finding any of it funny.
Go ahead.
All these attic pictures and all these basement pictures. Yes, maybe some of these are stuff that was left from behind.
I'm talking about the refrigerator, the garbage.
No, we put the garbage out. A lot of this stuff came from the attic that her brother destroyed, and it was from a ton of stuff was left up in the attic that I couldn't even use.
I'm not talking about the attic. Let's not talk
Well,
about the
that's
attic. Let's talk
pictures
about
of
the
this.
kitchen. Let's talk about the stove.
The stove wasn't hers, and it was broken. She knew it was broken.
What about the garbage?
The garbage is not all mine.
Whose is it?
Which came from the upstairs in the basement that she packed
to me.
up. Are you kidding me?
You said when
Refrigerator in the freezer?
No. No.
Food in the refrigerator and the freezer was yours?
Yeah.
The dirty stove inside was
There
you?
was
Listen to me. The stove was used by you for 5 years?
No, it was broken.
So you didn't have a stove for 5 years?
No, not the oven part. The top of it worked, yes. There was a fire at the bottom of it.
When you say that somebody else's stuff was in the basement, whose stuff was in the basement?
Her brother had lived there previously before I did. There was stuff in the basement from him, all of his leftover
That you left
stuff.
there,
and
just a second, that you left there for 5 years?
She brought a dumpster over there and we did clean out. I helped her personally clean out a ton of it, but yes, there was still some left in there.
And so what you're telling me is this mess down here was her brother's stuff that had been there for 5 years?
Absolutely.
Okay, can I see the video, please?
The water on the basement floor is from our washing machine being moved. That I can admit to.
That's not
But-
true. Your Honor, that is where there was a carpet and it was so badly contaminated with urine from cat smell that I had to replace it, and egg yolk that someone egged and candle waxed the inside of the entire house, up and down all the walls. That stove that was not the same stove that was in there. I've gotten her 2 stoves since then and 2 refrigerators. That one she chose to have because her father gave her. That's a busted out window in the kitchen, busted out one in the back door, which she said her son put his hand through when he was running through the house.
No, I said my son accidentally bumped into when he
Well,
was
your
running
son
into
did
the house.
whatever he did.
He accidentally hit it, and I told you that 3 years ago, and you said you would fix it.
Why didn't you fix it?
She told me she would do.
And why didn't you fix it?
That's exactly why I didn't, because she told me it was her son.
I'm asking you a question. So if your son did it, so why didn't you fix it?
This is graffiti that is written all over the garage by her husband and his band, complaining about neighbors because the cops were called several times due to complaints.
Well, you
of
don't know who
noise.
wrote it.
Well, it's got their names on it.
We didn't do that, Your Honor.
Do you think she did it to her own property?
No, I don't believe that she did it to her own property. And she also told me that she didn't believe that I did it either. And she told me that I was the last one there, so I was the one that she was going to blame because I had no proof that it was anybody else. So I took pictures. There was broken windows as well, pictures of the house that she promised to put siding and to paint. I've lived there for 5 years and she's done nothing.
We're not talking about whether you chose to stay at a place that didn't have new siding for $600 a month. Listen to me quietly. Is what you're saying that the destruction to the house was between the time you moved your things out and the couple of days and she saw it?
Yes.
Well, how do you think somebody got in there?
I believe through the broken window.
You do?
Yes, I do.
You do? That's your responsibility. You should have fixed the broken window.
No, just not that window. The window on the side. Not the one from the door. The window on the side of the house. That I can...
Is what you're telling me, madam, that you lived there for 5 years and nobody vandalized the house, but in 2 days after you moved out, somebody chose those 2 days to come in and do all those things to the house? Is that what you're suggesting to me?
I am. And my mom was there to clean on Easter Sunday, and she cleaned the whole place with my husband. She did all the cleaning. And when I went in there on Tuesday... She didn't do a good
job.
Well, I went in there on Tuesday...
You didn't do a good job of cleaning.
I didn't do a perfect job, Your Honor, but the garbage was out, the eggs were not there, the other things that Vicki is claiming, such as, excuse me, I'll stand, such as the ceiling fan being broken and everything else, that was not there at the time. Maybe I didn't do a perfect job cleaning. It's not my responsibility to clean up after my daughter. I keep my own place clean. But the destruction itself was not there. Some of the more destructive things were not there, okay? That's all I can say.
Maybe she didn't do it. Maybe her did it. I don't know who did it.
I don't either.
But it was done during her tenancy because she was there during the month of April. During the month of April, she is responsible for the house. She was responsible for paying rent for starting April 1st in the amount of $620, and she was responsible to see to it that the house was kept in a reasonable state. Now, who is this person over here?
This is the neighbor that lives across the street from where Kelly resided. When I went in and I saw how much damage was done, I was very distraught. I came out, I was on my cell phone. I called the cops, was back and forth. She was on her way out to work at the same time. She used to live there when I lived there. And she came over and she said to me, Vicki, what's going on?
Okay, step up. Tell me your name.
Jacqueline Bergen.
Ms. Bergen, what do you know about the condition of the house on or about the 15th to the 18th of April?
Well, over the weekend of the 15th, Kelly and her husband and them did move out of the home. On Tuesday, it was probably approximately about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was backing out of my driveway.
Tuesday is what date?
April 17th, I believe it is.
Okay.
And I was backing out of my driveway, and I had seen Vicki over there in the driveway. She was walking up and down the driveway. She had her cell phone. And I had gone over and I said, hey, Vic, I see your tenants had moved out over the weekend. So Vicki had asked me, she goes, did you see the damage to the house? I says, no. She goes, will you come in with me? I said, sure. And I walked through the whole house with her. She used to have a stepdaughter that lived there. And her,
who?
Kelly. And my daughter and her daughter used to hang out. Her daughter's name was Brianna. And a lot of that stuff in that attic belonged to Brianna. We found shoes that had Brianna's name written down the side of them. School papers. There was pictures in the attic of Kelly and Chuck. There was CDs from the band that her husband had upstairs in the attic.
And this was on the 17th?
On the 17th. And I'm the one that went through and took pictures with Vicki. And then on the back porch, which there is a picture of, she says all the garbage was removed. It might have been removed out of the house, but it was put onto the back porch and left there. There's empty Budweiser boxes, there's bags of trash. And then on Wednesday, me and another girl and Vicki were all over there cleaning, and then that's when Alta came over too and started in with the cleaning. And she said that Kelly would be back that night to help us. And Kelly has not been over there since.
Okay, thank you.
Judge Judy?
Yeah.
I did call her and tell her that I would like to give her her keys back and do the walkthrough. I had to leave her a message.
What date?
This would be on Monday because Sunday was Easter. 17th?
16th. But she said the 17th was Tuesday.
No, 17th was Monday.
17th was Monday. So on the 17th, you wanted to do a walkthrough, but you hadn't taken.
I called her. No, I had called her. I had my mom and my husband was over there on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, taking the garbage out. The garbage was to be picked up on Monday morning. I don't know if I was not there, so I don't know if all the garbage had made it out on Monday morning. I called her and left her a message. She called me back and left a nasty message on my phone on Tuesday saying that the cops were there and everything, and I can play it if...
I don't need it.
Okay.
At least some of the stuff that was upstairs in the attic belonged to Brianna. It belonged to her brother. It didn't belong to any of her relatives. I believe her. She has absolutely
And her son, spent the night in my house every weekend. He can contest that. She knows that my house was not dirty, and I was...
Listen to me. I think that you left the house a mess.
Okay.
I think that there was a lot of messy stuff left there. And I also think that either you, your son, your husband, or whatever did some nasty writing on the wall. There's no question in my mind that that happened. Now, that isn't worth thousands of dollars. That's worth a good cleanup. And if you had, at the time of your tenancy, had a security deposit, that security deposit probably, or should have been, something like 2 months' rent.
Right.
So at the time that you started, your rent was $590. Is that right?
Yes.
$1,180 plus the $320 that you owe her.
Your Honor, if I may show you just estimates as to what the damage exactly
Listen to me.
is.
When you rent a house to somebody, you have a responsibility. Your responsibility is to see to it ongoing that there isn't the kind of damage that you claim exists over 5 years. Okay. And you're not going to wait until the end of the tenancy and say, I want new carpeting, I want new appliances, I want the place freshly painted. You have to do that. That's what an owner does to their property. But certainly someone who leaves the apartment should leave it broom swept, clean, and in reasonable condition. I'm not talking about new carpeting, cleaning the carpeting, doing anything like that. And you have to be a little vigilant, because if what you say is that she was a friend of yours, you should have been in that house more frequently at the end of every year to see to it what was done. And you can't tell me now, after 5 years, that you want a whole redo on your house, but you're entitled to have it left clean. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all, Steph.
23-year-old Patricia Serrano is suing her former friend, Elda Lugo, for a $3,500 loan plus interest. Elda claims Patricia gave her the money from a large settlement.
Ms. Serrano, according to your complaint, the defendant is a friend of yours from high school. She ran into some financial difficulty some time ago and approached you about lending her some money.
Yes, Judge.
You were a good friend. You lent her the money, $3,500. She didn't pay you back. You want your money back.
Yes.
Ms. Lugo says that you were a good friend to her. You gave her $3,500. You would come into some money. There was never any discussion of payback. As far as she was concerned, it was a gift.
That's true. Differ.
When did you graduate from high school, Miss Lugo?
In June of 2001.
And between June of 2001 and the date of this loan or gift, which was on what date?
Last year, around August or July.
How often did you see each other?
After high school, we didn't see each other because we stopped being friends. And after she had a really bad car accident, her mom came and I started being her friend again. That's when we started.
What year?
I honestly do not recall what year she had a car accident.
What year?
It was in 2002, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about the day you approached Miss Serrano with your money troubles.
I did not approach her. I was just telling her my problems that I had with my family.
Shh, I don't. Listen, if you interrupt again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand?
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just told her I was having really hard times with my parents. I was having a lot of financial problems.
What kind of financial problems were you having, Miss Lugo?
My mom stopped making the payments, so they took my car from me.
How old are you?
23.
Why was your mother making your car payments for you?
Because we're both on the loan, and I was giving her the money, and she was making the payments out of her account.
What were you working for at the time?
Bay Cities National Bank.
So why weren't you paying the money directly?
Because that was just an arrangement that I had with my mom.
Your money?
I'm not saying she stole the money. I'm just saying that she wasn't making the payments, and they took the car from me.
So you're saying that if you gave your mother the money and your mother wasn't making the car payments,
she was using it for something else.
That she stole your money?
I guess.
And you told Ms. Serrano that your mother stole your money and they repossessed your car?
I told Patricia the problems that I was having with my parents and why they took my car from me.
Miss Lugo, I don't hear that that's a problem that you're having with your parents. If I believe what you're telling me, which I don't, you're telling me that your mother stole the money that you were giving her for your car loan and using it for her own purposes, and therefore they repossessed your car and you wanted to get it back.
Right.
Now, is that what you want me to believe?
That's the truth. That's exactly how everything's always been.
When did you move out of your mother's house?
Early September.
So you stayed in your mother's house another year after she stole your money?
Actually,
see where I'm going? So you had more financial difficulties than just this alleged theft by your mother of your money.
I couldn't just leave my house and just leave everything, like all my parents and my sisters behind.
Well, if I were living with somebody that stole my money and as a result of that my car was repossessed, I certainly wouldn't live there.
In June, I actually drove to Vegas and I was going to move over there with my cousin.
That's June 2006. We're still talking about 10 months that you were living with your mother, the thief, if I believe you. Which
right,
I
really didn't have a choice. I mean, I must.
Okay, you're 23 years old, you always have a choice. Okay, now I'm going to get to you, Miss Serrano. Now that I'm getting the personalities in order.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when she approached you in August of 2005 about this money.
Well, she told me the story that her car had gotten repossessed.
Did she tell you how it got repossessed?
Well, she didn't give me a straight answer. I never really did get straight answers from her.
That's a lie.
Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
You know, she came to me, she said, Patty, I haven't been able to make the payments. My mom and my dad aren't helping me out. I just don't have anywhere else to go to for money.
That's not true.
And I said, well, if you need help, feel free to come to me. She said, well, thank you so much. And a couple of days later, she came to me. She said, Patty, I need to take you up on your offer. Can you lend me $3,500? And I said, sure thing, I'll write you a check. And I'm not too sure if it was a day or two later that she said, it's too much trouble to go about, you know, with the check. I can't cash it. She even told me that her mom had found the check and was questioning her about the check.
That's not true.
Why, you know, why I was giving her a check for $3,500. And she said, well, I'll give you back the check and can you please give me $3,500 in cash? I said, wow, you know, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can work out. And I went to the bank, withdrew $3,500 cash.
Let me see from your bank.
Yeah, it's right here. It's highlighted in yellow.
Where did you get all this money from?
I was involved in a very serious car accident in 2002, and I got a small settlement out of it.
Large settlement.
Oh, that's interesting, Miss Lugo. Did you say a large settlement? How large?
I don't know.
When you said it was a large settlement, you must know something about the settlement.
That's all she would always say. She got a large settlement. never wanted to ask
I never
how much.
told you anything.
Shh. When did she tell you about this large settlement?
After she was recovering from her injuries.
When did you get the settlement?
Sometime in 2004.
You still have any of the money left?
Yes, I do. Some in investments.
Good. So you gave her $3,500 in cash?
Yes.
And what was the arrangement about paying you back?
She said, okay, Patty, you know I wouldn't have done this if I really didn't need it. Believe me, I'm going to have this money to you tops the end of the year when I get my bonus from the bank.
That's not true.
So I said, okay, you know what?
What part of keep quiet don't you understand?
I didn't see the money. She said, well, you know, I just need a couple of more months, whatever. And I said, okay, you know, just don't forget about it. You know, I'm being your friend here.
When for the first time, Miss Lugo, did the plaintiff ask for this money back?
Early September.
That's a lie.
So what part don't you understand?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation when she asked you for the money back.
She started calling me at work and she started emailing me at work.
What would she say when she called?
She was just calling me, telling me that she needed to meet me somewhere.
When did she, for the first time, ask you for the money back? Answer my question.
I believe her first email was September 7th.
That's not true.
Shh. Next time you're gone. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I assume you want me to consider giving you your money back.
Yes, please.
Then don't do it again. September 6th, and what did she say in the email? Do you have a copy of that email?
No, I don't.
Do you have a copy of the email?
Yes.
I want to see the email from September 6th.
She emailed me a promissory note that she wanted me to sign, that saying that I owed her the money, because.
Shh. Well, he emailed her, and you said to her that you planned on giving her the money.
Yeah, she was calling me at work nonstop, and she was just harassing me.
No, this has nothing to do with a response to harassment.
That's only the email that she gave you, but she didn't tell you about the phone calls that she was making to work.
I just want to see the emails. This is Wednesday, September 6th, and it's a lovely email. Absolutely lovely. You're happy for her. You're happy that she's happy. Hey, I'm not sure what's gone wrong between us again, but I really appreciate everything you have done for me and the times you've been there for me. I guess we are once again going our own separate roads. If it's the money thing, it's stopping you, don't worry. I will give it to you. Do me a favor. Please do not email me at the bank. I get in trouble for receiving personal emails.
My manager talked to me, and she was telling me that I was receiving too many personal emails. She emailed me.
Listen to me. She wants her money back.
Yeah, after she was trying to get with my boyfriend, she was trying to hook up with my boyfriend, and I confronted her about it. Until then is when she came back and wanted me to sign a promissory note and said that the gift that she gave me for $3,500 was then the loan.
I don't see why somebody who doesn't look like they're rolling in dough would give you $3,500 and not expect to be repaid at some point. Not necessarily in a week, not necessarily in a month or 6 months or even a year. But someday, within a reasonable period of time, when you got your act together, if you ever get your act together, she expected her money back. And to stand there at this point and say, well, she tried to get over on my boyfriend, and that wasn't right, and therefore I'm not paying her a dime, that's the wrong thing to do. It's not the moral thing to do. You want to end a relationship with her? Terrific. Do it. You're not friends anymore? You don't want to be friends anymore? Fine. But she was there for you when you needed her. And you're supposed to do the moral right thing and pay her her money. Just for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Allison Abushan claims her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Wilson, owes for the down payment on a truck. Allison also claims Christopher overdrew their shared bank account.
Thank you, Bert. Miss Abushan, how long were you and the defendant together as a couple?
About 5.5 months.
Did he move in with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him?
I met him when I was finishing college in Kentucky. He then moved back with me to Minnesota.
Mr. Wilson, when you moved back with Miss Abushan to Minnesota, what were you doing for a living, sir?
I got down there and I started work for DirecTV.
In what month did you move to Minnesota?
It was 2 days before Christmas.
So let's say January. And when did you get the job with DirecTV?
It was about a month after Christmas.
February?
Yes.
How long did you have the job?
Until I come back to Kentucky.
And when was that?
In the middle of March.
Well, then you weren't working very long, sir.
Right.
Who was supporting you?
My parents would send me money, help me out.
I'm talking about her. Was she supporting you?
It'd go either way. I had money too.
Where did you have money from?
My parents, like I say, they would send me money.
How old are you, Mr. Wilson?
I'm 23. I'll be 24.
If I let you.
I hope you'll let me.
All of these things, my questions have a reason, Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
This is your complaint. You foolishly, very foolishly, put a down payment on a truck or
Yes, Your
something
Honor.
for him. And there was an agreement that he was going to pay you back for it because he didn't have any what?
Transportation or money.
Because he didn't have any money.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have put the down payment on his own truck. So evidently his parents, because he acknowledges that you put the down payment on the truck for him, right? I read your papers.
Correct.
And if you had money of your own, then you wouldn't have needed money from? You're smarter than you look, sir. Now, 2 weeks after you bought him this truck, he goes back to Kentucky to deal with some legal issues, according to him, having to do with his child.
That ended up being
I'm
false.
speaking.
Excuse me.
And his child said, "Oh, Daddy, don't leave." So he decided to leave and dump you and go back to the mother of his child and his child because he couldn't say no to his baby. And he kept your truck. That's after 2 weeks.
Yes,
and how
ma'am.
much did you lay out?
$3,500.
You know, your looks are deceiving, sir. What?
$3,500, Your Honor.
No. There were also payments due on this truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
He moved back in the middle of March to Kentucky. Did he make the March payment on the truck?
No, ma'am, he did not.
I see, shh, just a second. I see a whole lot of blank space on your table, Mr. Wilson. You say in your answer that you made the truck payments. You left, according to you, the second week in March. Show me the March payment that you made.
I ain't got no evidence or nothing. She come and got the truck without my knowledge, right in the middle of the day.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You have evidence, sir, because you would have proof that you made the truck payment in March.
Nothing was due. There was no payments due on that truck.
I have a
just
check,
had to
Your Honor.
I just had purchased. We just had purchased that truck. Like I say, we just had purchased
You
that
mean you
truck.
purchased it, they made you a gift?
No, it's not a gift. It wasn't. There was no payments due on it.
When was the first payment due?
Whenever we bought the truck, like 3 weeks before, and I hadn't had a chance to pay the payment on it because she come and got it.
You didn't have a chance.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a check for
I see
March.
it, please?
Yes, ma'am. My mother wrote it out of account that we had shared together, my mother and I, to make the payment. After he was delinquent on that payment, that's when we chose to go down there for the sake of my credit. and
Just
get
a
it.
second.
Yes, Your Honor.
We do this according to the way I run this playpen, okay? Check is dated the 21st of March, so I assume for $271.75. You don't have another check that you made, do you, sir?
No.
In March? No. No. Then you went down because he didn't make the payment. And very wisely, I might add, decided not to be involved with this man anymore because now your credit is on the line because there are payments due on this car.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you and your mom, according to your papers, went down and repossessed the car.
Yes.
And sold it.
Yes.
Sold it at a loss.
Yes.
And what you want is the money that you spent on him for this truck. How much did you sell the truck for?
Sold the truck for $10,500. Had $11.86 left on the truck to be paid.
All right, so what's the deficit?
About $1,300.
Okay. That's a cheap lesson. Now, when, Miss Aubuchon, when you went down to repossess the truck, did you give him any notice that he had the opportunity to make up any of these?
Yes, Your Honor. I asked him if he would please return the truck to me. I even offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Kentucky from Minnesota if he would do that.
And what did he say to you?
He said, I'll do it, and then he would not call me back. I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him for several weeks at a time.
When did you first call him?
I called him.
Mr. Wilson, this smirk is irritating. Go ahead.
I was explaining this to him about a week after he left once I realized that he would not be returning.
When he left to go to Kentucky?
Yes.
When did he notify you that he would not be coming back?
It was about a week after he left. He told me that he wasn't going to be coming back due to his baby and missing his family. At that point, I said, I'll give you the opportunity to make the truck payment. If you do not, it will be going against my credit as well, and I will have to retrieve the truck.
And when did you have the discussion with him?
That discussion with him was had about a week after he...
Which was when?
It would have been the very end of February, first week of March. I also have credit card charges, Your Honor, which would indicate when he returned back to Kentucky.
I'd like to see them, please. Now, the second part of your claim is that he overdrew a joint checking account that you had. And quite frankly, I'm far more interested in that than this truck problem, because the truck was an unfortunate exercise for you.
Right.
You got most of your money back.
Right.
The $1,300 is probably a reasonable lesson that you'll never do it again.
Well, the down payment I never got back.
The down payment you did get back, madam, when you sold it. If anything, there was one payment due. I mean, it was a wise thing for you to do. Otherwise, you would have been responsible for the whole thing. But no bank would have gone after him after a week.
But I gave him the opportunity to
No bank would have gone after him after a week. And in all probability, he would not have made these payments. There's no question he wouldn't have made these payments from a moral perspective. But from a legal perspective, if you own a car and you finance it, and if you're 4 days late with a payment, they do not come after you and repossess the car. They don't do it.
Right.
Let's hear about the money in your checking account.
Okay. We opened this joint checking account because I was supporting Mr. Wilson. I gave him a card of his own. Once he started making money, his checks were going to be directly deposited into that account so that we could pay bills together, so on and so forth. When he left, that account was emptied. I foolishly did not close it.
When he left, the account was emptied by you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much was in the account?
At the time, there was about $1,500 in the account.
Okay. And at the time, Mr. Wilson had been working for about a month.
Correct.
How much money did you put into the account, Mr. Wilson?
Probably about $700.
Okay, fine. And then, according to the plaintiff, Mr. Wilson, you made charges against her bank credit for $2,000. Why did you do that, sir?
I don't think I made that much.
Why did you make any?
I don't think I made about maybe $300, and I figured my money was in there.
Well, let's see how much money. How much money did he charge on the debit card?
I believe the total is about $2,300.
Not about. Figure it out, because then you're going to show it to Mr. Wilson. You need a calculator?
I may need a calculator. There's quite a bit.
Stand over next to her while she's adding this up so you save me a little bit of time, Mr. Wilson. Listen to me, Miss Aubuchon.
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor.
Show him the charge, add it on the calculator. Press on.
Okay.
I know enough about the machine to know they have to press on.
This is the ladder. This is the advance for credit card for food and gas when you left town, food and gas in Kentucky, when you ordered stuff in order to set up your new business in Kentucky, more food and gas, and the Dell computer.
And what do we have as a total?
We have $2,130, I believe.
5 cents on your computer.
This is wrong. That was the difference.
Step back over and don't be a smart mouth. Can I see it, please?
Sure.
Give me the computer. Let him stand right there next to you. Just
So unless the decimal is in the wrong place, it should be about $1,595 that I've now added up. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Wilson, you've gone over those charges. That should be your computer in Kentucky, your business in Kentucky, the food and gas in Kentucky. Gone over those charges?
Yes.
Is that right? $1,595?
I don't think so.
Well, how much is it, sir? Here, just a second. Let's do... You add it.
I don't need no calculator. I mean, I really don't.
No, listen to me. Then add it up in your head. Add it up in your head. What?
600.
No. Add up those figures, sir. Give the piece of paper to Smartmouth. Read over the figures that she just added, sir. Come on.
Well, at the time, you know, from Minnesota, Kentucky.
Listen, from Minnesota to Kentucky, give me the charges. Let's go.
Let me see your calculator then. This calculator ain't right.
Can I have the calculator, please? I've been using it for 11 years. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, Miss Aubuchon, this is a challenge. I want you to say the charge, tell me what it was for, and the amount.
Okay. There was a ladder charged at Menards, $220.85.
Don't give me any change.
Okay.
Just round it out to the last
Yes,
dollar.
Your Honor.
$225?
Yep. Advance from credit card, $150. Skywalker Communications, $175. Food and gas in Kentucky, $50. Advance from credit card, $1,000. I'm sorry, I missed that originally. And the Dell computer, $807.
Where's the computer, sir?
I sent it back whenever she notified me about it.
Send it back to whom?
Dale, a long time ago.
Is there a credit?
I was never credited for that, Your Honor.
You owe her $2,407. You got it? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,407. Listen, Miss Aubuchon.
Yes,
you
Your
made
Honor.
a mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't make another mistake.
I won't, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Timothy Rodriguez claims ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Johnson owes for 2 accidents with his truck.
Mr. Rodriguez, Miss Johnson was your girlfriend for a
Yes.
period of time, and it is your claim that on 2 occasions she caused an accident which damaged your truck, and you want her to pay to have your truck repaired.
Yes.
Miss Johnson acknowledges that there were 2 accidents in the truck while she was driving. Her answer seems to indicate that you told her at the time it was no big deal and you would take care of fixing them. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that you have bad temper, that you damaged the apartment by putting holes in the wall with your fist, and that at one point you assaulted her. That's her counterclaim. Is that right?
Yes.
Who is this lady?
Oh, that's my daughter's mother.
Can you tell me why she's here?
She was a witness to a phone call that I spoke with Elizabeth about my payments to my truck for the damages.
I see.
And she heard the conversation with her.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter's 2.
Is that your only child?
I have 2 other children, too.
You thought about that for a second. How old are your other 2 children?
I got one that's 10 and one that's 8.
And who do they live with?
They live with their mother.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rodriguez?
I'm a union carpenter,
How much do you earn a year?
roughly about $40,000.
And your 8 and 10-year-old, they live with their mother? And what
Yes.
does their mother do for a living?
She's just a stay-at-home mom.
You must be very wealthy.
No,
Well, who supports your 8 and 10-year-old children?
I do.
How much do you send them?
I send the mother probably about $500–600 a month.
You send her about $500 or $600.
It all depends on how much